Chapter 195. I've spilled the beans. Lin Chen harbors hostility toward you and loathes you to the bone. Would you like to perform a lifespan detection on him? As Guwen was writing in the Mystic Valley Pavilion, a line of text suddenly appeared before his eyes. He frowned and chose to perform a lifespan detection on Lin Chen. Lin Chen, Mahayana Realm, second layer 634/4500/4700, Mahayana Realm, second layer? Guwen immediately extended his divine sense toward the North Sea Mountain, because there was a cultivator with a Mahayana Realm second layer cultivation there. He quickly caught sight of Lin Chen's figure, who happened to be holding a small wooden figure that bore an exact resemblance to his own. No wonder it triggered the lifespan hostility warning. Guwen didn't take action right away. Instead, he expanded the range of his divine sense to ensure that no heaven and earth flying immortal realm cultivators were nearby. Under the cover of night, Lin Chen tossed the small wooden figure into his storage bag, feeling that he couldn't rush in avenging his father. Since he couldn't determine if the mountain god was Sword Venerable Fudao, he could only turn his attention to the supreme sect. He didn't dare confront Sword Venerable Fudao directly. What he thought about now was how to incite conflict between the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. If he could uncover Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, and if Sword Venerable Fudao wasn't strong enough to be untouchable by the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, then Sword Venerable Fudao would surely die. Lin Chen took a deep breath. Just as he was about to leap into the air, a hand rested on his shoulder. He was overcome with a feeling of falling into an abyss, his spiritual power freezing instantly. His pupils widened, a wave of indescribable terror rising in his heart. The sky's getting darker, beware of Sword Venerable Fudao patting your shoulder. Ji Zunling's words echoed in his ears. At this moment he was petrified with terror. Unable to move, he wanted to plead for mercy, but he couldn't even open his mouth. The mysterious hand pressed firmly on his shoulder, making no further move, which only compounded his fear, plunging his heart into despair. Suddenly, from behind came a sigh. Lin Chen couldn't help but feel a strange kind of relief. Did the other person not intend to kill him? Boom! An overwhelming divine sense rushed into his mind, causing him to lose consciousness instantly. With the turn of the ancient hour, Guwen walked down the stairs, joining the disciples for exercises. Last night he reaped 384 years of lifespan, but more importantly he gathered crucial information. Within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, there were two attitudes towards Sword Venerable Fudao. One was to investigate his identity and, if he was not insurmountable, find a way to lure him out and then annihilate him. The second was to actively recruit him, compensating for the loss of startling immortal Lin and covering up their crimes. The latter was primarily worried that Sword Venerable Fudao might be associated with maritime forces. The Lin family's strongest force was only a loose immortal, and the death of startling immortal Lin was a severe blow to them, severing their upward path. Their hatred for Sword Venerable Fudao was profound, continuously pushing for revenge within the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. However, the higher-ups' attitude was ambiguous, forcing Lin Chen, as the direct offspring of the startling immortal Lin, to leave the territory to investigate Sword Venerable Fudao. This intelligence was favorable for Guwen. At least, it confirmed that without knowing his true identity, the heaven and earth flying immortal realm wouldn't act recklessly, allowing him to continue biding his time. Notably, the current 7 Stars spirit realm on the continent was mainly led by the 6 Stars Cave. The Lin and Ji families originated from the 6 Stars Cave, but continent geniuses could only enter the 7 Stars Cave for cultivation. The 5-star caves above them were all overseas. This heightened Guwen's wariness towards the 7 Stars spirit realm. He was facing a power far surpassing the ephemera sect. The 7 Stars spirit realm was not only stronger but maintained a holy land image, executing their plans seamlessly, making it difficult for an individual to shake their foundation. Even if heaven and earth flying immortal could sweep through the 6 Stars Cave and 7 Stars Cave, how would one face the 5-star caves above? Guwen cast aside these thoughts, focusing on his practice, listening to the disciples discuss their plans for the day. His mood lightened. Why worry so much? His identity was well hidden. As long as he didn't reveal himself, the Seven Stars spirit realm wouldn't dare act rashly. Cherish the present. Have you heard? Next year, there's going to be the world's best sword Dao tournament. A female disciple suddenly spoke, stirring everyone's interest. They began discussing the world's best sword Dao tournament. Gu En occasionally interjected, appearing very enthusiastic, dreaming of the tournament. After all, outwardly, he was just a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Next year, he planned to advance to the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment. Then, after turning 100, he would form his core. Forming a core before the age of 100 marked a genius. Doing so afterward painted him as a mediocre cultivator relying on elixirs to break through. Near noon, Yi Lan came to find him. Senior brother, Zhen Qin has dramatically changed over the past 2 years, becoming silent and introspective. I can't understand her lately. I've noticed her investigating the ghost mother of ephemera. Could she still have lingering feelings for Su Han? Yi Lan said anxiously after closing the door. Gu En knew the reason but couldn't disclose it, nor could he stop Zhen Qin from seeking revenge. Currently, the ghost mother of ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 evil were following Jiang Qiong into the great Jiang dynasty, establishing a sect named Juhua sect, without much notoriety. Zhen Qin needed to face life on her own to grow better. Of course, if she ever confronted the ghost mother of ephemera and couldn't win, Gu En would protect her, as she hadn't deviated from the right path. She's grown up and has her own thoughts. Don't worry too much, Gu En comforted. Yi Lan came closer, speaking in a low voice. I always feel she has a higher cultivation hidden. Could she have been possessed? Or did she take a mysterious master? Senior brother, don't you have connections with Sword Venerable Fudao? Can you ask him to investigate? Gu En shook his head. I haven't seen him for a long time. Remember, do not mention Sword Venerable Fudao. His name carries too much weight now. Many strong enemies might be plotting against him. With our cultivation level, we can't involve ourselves, or we will be doomed. As he spoke, he released mana from his feet, isolating the room to prevent eavesdropping. Yi Lan nodded. I understand. I never dare to mention it, only to you. Her steadiness reassured Gu En. Most importantly, Yi Lan's activity range was within his divine sense. The Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the Supreme Sect could never escape his divine sense range for life. Such was the brutal reality of cultivation differences. Yi Lan began talking about other matters, mainly about some trivial issues in the law enforcement hall. Gu En listened intently. When she finished, Gu En said, If you're uncomfortable, let me know. I'll find you a better position. Yi Lan raised an eyebrow. Senior brother, do you really have that capability? She knew about the Third Medicine Valley's existence but couldn't access specific details about it. She wasn't sure how much Gu En contributed to the Supreme Sect. She even suspected Gu En of growing medicinal herbs for Sword Venerable Fudao, which explained why he often left Mystic Valley. Gu En pulled out a book, tossing it onto the table. I'm revealing my cards. It was the initial draft of Investiture of the Gods, a treasured edition without a cover. Yi Lan's face turned pale instantly. She asked in a trembling voice, Senior brother, did you write that book? Gu En crossed his arms, raising his chin arrogantly. Yi Lan glared at Gu En, angrily asking, Senior brother, if you had such great needs, why did you reject me? Is your heart set on someone in the valley? Gu En was stunned, taken aback by her sudden outburst. He looked down, realized something, and quickly picked up Investiture of the Gods. Flipping it open, look closely. Junior sister, what are you thinking all day? Senior brother must criticize you a bit. Yi Lan only needed to glance at a couple of lines to recognize the book. She widened her eyes in shock. You wrote Investiture of the Gods? Are you Panin? Gu En shook his head, giving her a look that said he couldn't believe her misunderstanding. Her face turned red. She circled the table, grabbing his shoulders and gently shaking him. Senior brother, she said coquettishly. 2 ancient hours later, Yi Lan opened the door and walked downstairs. Lu Jiujia saw her and smiled, greeting her. Yi Lan kept a stern face. nodded slightly, and then flew away using her sword. Lu Jiujia was used to her demeanor. After all, staying in the law enforcement hall for a long time tended to make one serious. Days of leisure passed by. Guwen wandered among the various medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the outer gate city and inner sect city, living a comfortable life. However, the increasing demonic chi from afar indicated the day when the evil demon would break the seal was approaching. Guwen hesitated whether he should break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm early to avoid mishaps. After thinking it over, he decided to break through at sea by the end of the year. Better safe than sorry. Summer gave way to autumn. Because of the upcoming World's Best Sword Dao tournament, more sword cultivators started arriving at the Supreme Sect, causing sword competition signs to appear around Mystic Valley. Fortunately, Sword Venerable Fudao was hidden in the nearest outer gate city, deterring these sword cultivators from bullying the servant disciples. After noon in the third Medicine Valley, Guwen stood with his hands behind his back, watching the disciples sweeping the grounds. The white spirit rat was frolicking in a pile of fallen leaves, infuriating an Exon but always eluding her capture. Everything felt perfect. Guwen's lips curved into a smile. As he was appreciating the beautiful scene, he suddenly sensed something and turned to look north. Beyond 3 dynasties, a strange heavenly aura appeared above a river that cut through the mountains. It resembled the celestial aura that appeared when Lu Lingjun ascended. Someone else was ascending? Guwen thought to himself. He sensed this celestial aura was slightly stronger than when Lu Lingjun ascended, but not strong enough to make him wary. He previously speculated Lu Lingjun's successful ascension was due to his presence nearby during his breakthrough. Would there be special circumstances around this ascender? Guwen's divine sense began scanning the forests within a 1,000-mile radius, his gaze suddenly locking onto a stele hidden in the grass. The stele contained restrictions only breakable by Mahayana realm cultivators, concealed without any leakage of aura. Interesting. Guwen had no intention of investigating further, as he already saw many great cultivators heading toward the place where the ascender would descend. Besides great cultivators, there were also low cultivation individuals, such as Li Ya and Zhang Buku. Seeing Li Ya's figure, Guwen's expression turned peculiar. Why did he feel like Li Ya was going to get hurt again? Speaking of which, Zhang Buku was frequently injured in recent years. Eve. Chapter 196, Being Someone's Mount After Ascending? The demon lands in autumn were covered with golden leaves, like a sea of gold. Li Ya stood on the North Sea heavy sword, flying through the air, while Zhang Buku stood behind him, staring into the distance. Zhang Buku saw a figure in the distance flying towards the horizon at a speed far beyond theirs, the powerful aura of their cultivation level making him secretly astonished. Brother Li, are we really going to get involved in this mess? Zhang Buku couldn't help but ask. Li had been his first friend. This past year, they had ventured through the demon lands together, facing life and death, forming a deep bond, but it was easy to get hurt. Even though they often got injured, being able to rely on each other was far better than going it alone. The fierce wind blew against Li Ya's face, and he showed a smile on his handsome and resolute face. He said, "So many great cultivators are rushing there, let's go take a look. We won't fight yet, well, observe quietly. If there's no opportunity, well, just watch the excitement, but if there is one, all the better." Zhang Buku heard this and found it reasonable. He looked ahead, eyes showing a hint of anticipation. On the other side, Guwen was not continuously watching the Ascension Land but had begun to busy himself. He was preparing to expand Nianchu Cave. Nianchu Cave, watched over by Tian Yao, truly belonged to him. Apart from the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, the other medicine valleys were mostly exposed, making direct expansion difficult. He entered Nianchu Cave and used his own mana to enlarge it. Tian Yao watched Guwen's back, her little mouth opened wide, while Tian Qing and Tian Bai squatted on her shoulders, shaking their heads as they watched Guwen. Guwen walked in front of the mountain wall, his right hand leading the way, and with each step, the mountain wall ahead would cave in without any rocks falling or the cave shaking. This ability left Tian Yao's eyes wide with amazement. She always knew Guwen was strong but hadn't realized just how formidable. Even after training for many years, she couldn't comprehend Gu An's divine skills. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Nianchu Cave had doubled in size. Since Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was particularly large, it wouldn't affect the mountain body, and further expansions by 10 times would be no problem in the future. Guan arrived at a stone table, placed down a storage bag and said, "These are all seeds, up to you to plant them. Don't disappoint me." Without waiting for Tian Yaoer to respond, he vanished into thin air. Tian Yaoer didn't look at the storage bag but instead mimicked Gu An's earlier posture, raising her right hand and carefully recalling his movements. The moon set and the sun rose, ushering in a new day. In the third Medicine Valley, Guan put down his pen and stood by the window, looking at the demon lands. After the Ascenders arrived last night, that steel triggered a restriction, opening an entrance to a minor heaven and earth, where all the great cultivators swarmed in. Early this morning, many people had flown out and started fighting, including Liya and Jianghu. In the mountain forests by the riverbank, Liya lay bloodied amongst the fallen trees, staring at the overbearing figure high in the distant sky, clenched his teeth, and struggled to stand up. "Haha, so this is the ability of the great heavenly spirit land? Nothing more. I don't know whether I ascended to the wrong place or if this world is just so weak." The speaker was a man with blood-red hair, 2 curved black horns on his head, bare-chested, in black pants, with a fiery red sash around his waist, crawling with strange blood-colored runes. With his spiritual power surging, the runes wriggled, lifelike. He wielded a silver rod, sweeping it at the great cultivators attacking from all directions. Blood flames erupted, sweeping across the sky in a spectacular display, forcing those great cultivators back. He vanished into thin air, appearing instantly behind a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm, and smashed down with his rod. Boom! The great cultivator plunged into the river, their life or death uncertain. Jianghu quickly flew to Li Ya's side, also severely injured but not as badly. He said in a deep voice, "Brother Li, we should retreat." Though reluctant, Li Ya could only nod. The two supported each other, flying away, with mad laughter and the sounds of heaven and earth clashing coming from behind. That guy deliberately didn't kill, specifically tormenting opponents. The more they suffered, the more excited he became, like a mad demon. Runaway ants, remember the name of this one. This one is honored as the Great Saint. You all may call this one the Blood Prison Great Saint. Hearing this, Jianghu immediately accelerated, fearing the Blood Prison Great Saint would chase them. In fact, the Blood Prison Great Saint was indeed watching Li Ya and Jianghu. He was very interested in these two guys with half-human, half-demon blood. Especially Jianghu, whose chi blood was so strong it seemed he was hiding a cultivation level, and his axe technique was also impressive. After a while, with no one left standing around, the Blood Prison Great Saint smacked his lips, looking at the white light whirlpool hovering over the distant forest, hesitated, then flew off in another direction. That direction was where Jianghu and Li Ya had fled. An ancient hour later, Jianghu and Li Ya landed in a dense forest shrouded in thick fog, with rich spiritual energy, perfect for hiding. After landing, Li Ya began to set up a formation, with Jianghu merely watching, not knowing the technique. When Li Ya finished setting up the formation, they both sat down and exhaled in relief. Li Ya grinned, even with a face full of blood. His excitement was evident. He raised his right hand, pulling a fist-sized golden fruit from his storage bag. "With this, our efforts weren't in vain," Li Ya said contentedly. Jianghu wiped the blood and sweat from his face, saying admiringly, "Brother Li, you're amazing. You were so fast those great cultivators didn't notice you seeing the treasure. We're brothers, half each. I can feel the power within this fruit. It's definitely a treasure that can transform the body." Li Ya laughed proudly, enjoying Jianghu's gaze. Although he couldn't beat Jianghu in combat, he could play the big brother in actions. As they excitedly talked, little did they know, several miles away, the Blood Prison Great Saint was silently approaching, already hearing their conversation, and Li Ya's formation was as good as non-existent to him. The Blood Prison Great Saint's mouth curled up in a sneer. At that moment, A hand rested on his shoulder, instantly freezing his demonic power, and his body could no longer move forward. His eyes widened, instinctively wanting to struggle, but he was entirely powerless. How could this be? What realm was this opponent? The blood prison great saint panicked. He had never been so suppressed before, with even his divine sense unable to spread out, clueless about who was behind him. Naturally, it was Guwen, who had used the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Before attacking, Guwen ensured that no one was following the blood prison great saint. Blood prison great saint, Mahayana realm 8th floor 1209/9000/9999, Mahayana realm 8th floor, far stronger than Lu Lingjun. Guwen immediately used the soul-capturing skill to search the blood prison great saint's memories. The blood prison great saint hailed from the spirit realm, a mortal world with 9 continents and 7 seas, where the Mahayana realm was the highest realm. He had been a cultivator of the human race, later transforming into a demon body after obtaining divine beast true blood, completely unleashing his talent, sweeping through those of the same realm, even able to battle across realms, invincible. Interestingly, although the blood prison great saint's name sounded terrifying, he was actually a soft-hearted individual. As long as there wasn't a blood feud, he would spare those who knelt and begged for mercy after defeat. He had never committed an evil act in his life. His notorious name stemmed from his foul mouth. His threatening boasts made many believe he had committed those evil acts, compounded by slander from enemies, gradually earning him the blood prison great saint title, which he proudly saw as the fear and dread of the spirit realm's beings, his greatest achievement. After reading his soul, Guwen unexpectedly didn't want to kill this guy anymore. With no one watching him, he could take him in. Because Guwen saw the divine beast's true form whose blood was absorbed. With the fall of the demon ancestor, many demons were slaughtered, and the demon lands had become a place where the human race sought opportunities, with great cultivators fighting everywhere. The focus of the 7-star spirit realm was on the evil demons, ignoring the blood prison great saint, perhaps having seen countless ascenders. The blood prison great saint's consciousness gradually awakened, feeling a heavy and uncomfortable drowsiness. He struggled to open his eyes, seeing a large tree with a man sitting on the grass in front of it, holding a book. He abruptly opened his eyes wide, trying to teleport away, but only managed to stand up, not jump away. He seemed to realize something, his eyes showing panic. He had turned into a red-furred bull, almost as tall as a grown man. He wanted to speak, but all that came out was a moo. The most despairing thing was that his cultivation level was gone. This must be the path of returning primordial spirit. Guwen had sealed his cultivation to the energy cultivation realm, with mana wrapping his demon core and primordial spirit, making him appear no more than a first-order demon beast. Ascender from the spirit realm, if you serve me for 1,000 years, I'll let you go. Guwen put down his book and said leisurely. Looking at his youthful face, the blood prison great saint felt only fear. Guwen stood up and walked toward him, making him retreat in fear. Without his cultivation, how could he dare escape? Eventually, he was caught by Guwen and humiliatingly ridden. Guwen sat on his back, patting him, pointing in a direction. He could only move forward. By dusk, Guwen had ridden the blood prison great saint back to the Mystic Valley. With his dark red fur and majestic body, he instantly drew the curiosity of numerous disciples, who gathered around, pointing. The blood prison great saint was dazed. With his divine sense sealed, he had worried all the way about which demon cave he would be taken to. These cultivators' chi blood was so weak, seemingly all in the energy cultivation realm. He felt like he had arrived in some small place in the spirit realm. As Guwen introduced him to the disciples with a smile, this feeling of illusion became a mix of complex emotions. He was the blood prison great saint, the most outstanding genius of the spirit realm in 10,000 years, sweeping the 9 continents and 7 seas, reigning invincible, earning the title of great saint through his battles. After ascending, he had become a mount? The blood prison great saint sank into bewilderment. Chapter 197. The ambition of the supreme sect. Guwen flaunted his new mount, attracting the disciples' curiosity towards the blood prison great saint, causing him to feel quite oppressed. But fearing Guan, he could only endure. Even Chu Jingfeng, who usually practiced swordsmanship on the mountaintop, came to join the fun. He had seen many mounts, but it was his first time seeing such an imposing ox. Its large horns were impressive, and its fur fluttered like flames in the wind. After lingering in the Mystic Valley for an hour, Guan took the blood prison great saint back to the Third Medicine Valley. He planned to take the blood prison great saint with him wherever he went around the Supreme Sect. Now, the number of cultivators in the Supreme Sect was increasing, and it was possible to see cultivators riding their mounts in the sky. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley were equally interested in the blood prison great saint. The presence of such spiritual energy in this valley amazed the blood prison great saint, as such a level of spiritual energy was rare even in the spirit realm, making him look forward to the days ahead. Since he came, he might as well find peace. But just one night later, that thought was replaced by anger. There was an incredibly fat old rat in the Medicine Valley. Damn it, it was infuriating. He was napping downstairs when the white spirit rat bit his butt, startling him. As an invincible great saint in his realm, how could he tolerate this? What frustrated him even more was yet to happen. He couldn't catch the white spirit rat. That night was the darkest moment in the blood prison great saint's life. The next day, Guan took the blood prison great saint to Tianya Valley. "Why are you riding an ox?" Luo Hun approached the blood prison great saint and asked curiously, unable to resist touching its fur. Guan smiled and said, "Just bought it. How is it?" "Impressive, right?" "Indeed, quite nice." "What breed is it?" "I'm not sure either. I call him Bull Demon King." "Bull Demon King?" That name, Luo Hun shook his head with a smile, while the blood prison great saint lowered his ox eyes, looking dispirited. LV Xian and Ji Ruolai were also attracted to the blood prison great saint and came over to greet Guan. Given the plethora of demon creatures in the world, they didn't inquire much further. "Have you seen my third sister lately?" Ji Ruolai asked Guan. Guan shook his head and said, "No, I rarely go to the inner sect." "What's the matter? Need me to deliver a message?" Ji Ruolai nodded and said, "The family wants to summon her back to the Seven Stars spirit realm. Could you help convey the message?" Guan readily agreed and then went to pick medicinal herbs. 3 monkey demons circled the blood prison great saint with great curiosity. Seeing their scratching and sniffing, the blood prison great saint felt they were mocking him, making him even more annoyed. It became even more difficult after ascending for the 3rd day. In late autumn, LV Beiyin came to see Guan. After going upstairs, he habitually closed the door and set up a restriction. After finishing, he approached the desk and sat down, smiling as he asked, "Is the ox downstairs yours?" "Its qualifications are a bit lacking. It's just a 1st order. It's not very useful. Do you want me to give you a 3rd order mount?" Guan shook his head and smiled. "No need. I don't have many enemies. I don't need such a powerful mount. Besides, I have a good eye for this ox. It's quite intelligent." "Intelligent?" Looking at its eyes, it seems like it's about to be buried. "Haha." Guan chuckled without denying. LV Beiyin didn't continue to mock the blood prison great saint and started discussing sect matters. Although the #1 Sword Dao tournament in the world had not yet taken place, he already looked forward to the next big event. Guan's love for teaching was aroused, and he began to talk at length about various ideas, which LV Beiyin listened to with great interest. Guan not only discussed methods but also envisioned a bright future, making LV Beiyin feel quite pleased. After a long time, taking advantage of Guan drinking tea, LV Beiyin asked, "How do you think the Supreme Sect should view demons?" During the previous Great Demon Calamity, the Demon Emperor had sent a group of great demons. This group of demons was now still staying in the Supreme Sect, following Di Xie's leadership. The Supreme Sect had not mistreated them, arranging caves for each. Guan responded, "Sometimes human hearts are worse than demon hearts. Since we are already cultivating to become immortals, why should we have racial prejudice? Why can't the Supreme Sect recruit demon clan disciples?" LV Beiyin nodded. He sighed and said, "But doing so, wouldn't there be hidden dangers?" Everything has its pros and cons. We can't avoid doing something just because we fear the cons. If successful, it can set an example, making the human and demon clans on the mainland no longer be at odds. If it fails, then treat it as a training exercise, suppress it if necessary. Isn't suppression what you were best at in the past? Guwen said calmly. With this, he aimed to accumulate strength for the Supreme Sect. The Supreme Sect eventually has to face the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Ji Xianling represented the Seven Stars Spirit Realm in trying to win over the Supreme Sect, but the Supreme Sect only maintained good relations without bowing down, reflecting the attitude of the Hall of Elders. Now, the mentality of the upper echelons of the Supreme Sect had become inflated. They were already thinking about becoming the second Holy Land in the mainland, or even surpassing the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. With Gu N's support, LV Baitin felt much more confident, and the smile on his face became brighter. The two chatted for a long time before LV Baitin left, satisfied. Downstairs, he looked at the blood prison great saint lying on the ground and became interested. He walked over, patted the blood prison great saint's head, and said with a laugh, "Little beast, cultivate well. One day, you might become a disciple of the Supreme Sect. Reaching the nascent soul realm is not impossible." The blood prison great saint glanced at him with a white eye, too lazy to respond. This made LV Baitin pause, suspecting he had misseen. Forget it. What's the use of arguing with a beast? LV Baitin stood up and left. The blood prison great saint watched his back, seething with inner rage. "Old thing, just you wait. Daring to insult me in 1,000 years, I will make you kneel before me and beg for mercy." Snowflakes flew as Guwen rode the blood prison great saint, wandering in the Third Medicine Valley. It seemed like he was patrolling, but in reality his divine sense was traveling overseas, looking for a place to break through. An XN ran over, curiously asking, "Master, why do you ride it wherever you go? Don't you think it's slow?" Guwen lightly chuckled and said, "I'm training its physique. Although it's my mount, I want mistreat it. Sooner or later, I will release it." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint's eyes brightened, and his ox body became upright, no longer looking like an old dying ox. An Xian nodded. Just as she was about to speak, two figures suddenly flew in from the sky. It was Lu Lingjun and Xinjun. After landing, Xinjun enthusiastically greeted Gu and Lu Lingjun glanced at the blood prison great saint under Gu but didn't pay much attention. Xinjun talked excitedly about their opportunities over the years, making even an Xian listen with envy. Guwen also pretended to be emotional, envious, satisfying Xinjun's sense of achievement. Now Xinjun was already at the 5th layer of the nascent soul realm, evidencing the great fortitude. After chatting for a while, Xinjun finally left. Before leaving, she mentioned preparing to publish a book next, which made Guwen's heart skip a beat. After Xinjun left, an Xian also didn't disturb Guwen and Lu Lingjun, finding an excuse to leave. Lu Lingjun lightly stomped her foot, forming a barrier with her spiritual power, isolating the 3-foot area, making the blood prison great saint look at her again. "Guwen, I heard there's an ascender appearing in the north. You are close to the sect leader. Did you find out anything?" Lu Lingjun asked directly. "Ascender." Upon hearing these words, the blood prison great saint couldn't help but lower his head. Such a disgrace. Guwen thought for a moment and shook his head. "I haven't heard of it. Why are you so concerned about the ascender?" Lu Lingjun hesitated for a while and said, "To be honest, I'm also an ascender, so I wanted you to write about the shattering void." Gu and his eyes widened, showing a look of incredulity. The blood prison great saint looked up again, this time with tears in his eyes. Lu Lingjun had wanted to say this for a long time. The opportunities over the years had made her more confident as she said, "I want to recruit ascenders and build my own network in the Supreme Sect. What do you think?" She knew LV Baitin often visited the Medicine Valley, and she had often heard about LV Baitin's plans from Guwen. She also wanted to convey her intentions to LV Baitin through Guwen. Guwen excitedly said, "Of course, it is a good thing. It will enhance the strength of the Supreme Sect. However, I really don't have any information on that ascender." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint was full of confusion. He could tell now that no one knew the true cultivation level of the person on his back. Moreover, the cultivators he had seen so far were very weak, not even reaching the first-class level in the spirit realm. He couldn't understand why a great cultivator like Gu En would hide in such a small place. In the future, keep an eye out for such information, and I won't treat you unfairly, Lu Lingjun said. She had to devote most of her time to cultivation. Since the appearance of beings in the Mahayana realm and the immortal path, she felt a great urgency, thinking the mystic heart realm was inadequate. Gu En nodded with a smile. They had a brief chat before Lu Lingjun left. Gu En patted the blood prison great saint, signaling him to continue forward. People always want to go to places they've never been before, but when they arrive, they find it's all the same. When they want to turn back, it's often too late. Gu En said leisurely, and the blood prison great saint felt he was speaking to him. Unfortunately, the blood prison great saint couldn't speak, otherwise, he would argue with Gu En. If it weren't for meeting you, would I be so aggrieved? The falling snow grew heavier, the ground accumulating more snow. The blood prison great saint left 2 ox hoof prints in the snowy ground as he and Gu En disappeared into the vast snow. Until nightfall. Demonland. On the wasteland, Xian Tianyi and An Hao sat facing the fire. The falling snow did not land on them, melting in the 10-foot radius around them, separated from the surrounding snowy ground. Xian Tianyi held a book and softly said, "The demonic qi here is very strong. Maybe we'll find evil demons hiding nearby." And Hao was practicing his skills. He opened his eyes and asked, "Senior, what should we do when we find the evil demon?" After the trend of heading north swept the world, he couldn't restrain his restless heart anymore. Saying goodbye to Sienna, he ventured north alone. His goal was to become an immortal and not stay in one place for any person indefinitely. Xian Tianyi answered, "Then you take the information back. I will stay here alone." "Why would you stay?" "I also want to play the hero. I can't always rely on Sword Venerable Fudao, can I?" As he spoke, Xian Tianyi turned to the next page and continued to read. Chapter 198. Master understands you deep in the night. Inside the Mystic Valley Pavilion, candlelight flickered, and hot tea was brewing. Zhen Qin sat dazedly on a small stool, staring at the teapot and lost in thought. Gu En was writing a book. After he finished a page, he started to appreciate it, feeling increasingly pleased with his work. "Disciple, come and have a look." Gu En's voice interrupted Zhen Qin's thoughts. Zhen Qin quickly stood up, walked to his side, took the page from his hand, and read it attentively. "The 7 great saints. Great sage who pacifies heaven, Bull Demon King?" Zhen Qin couldn't help but look at Gu En and asked, "Master, isn't your bull downstairs the Bull Demon King? Did you write him into the book?" Gu En chuckled and asked, "Is that not allowed?" "Of course it is, but your writing style." Zhen Qin nodded, her expression a bit hesitant. Does Master have such talent? Upon thinking about it, she realized that since Master didn't cultivate, he must have time for music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. After finishing reading, she handed the page back to Gu En and said, "It's very well written. Just this part alone feels no worse than the investiture of the gods. Master, are you planning to publish a book? I hope you can surpass Pan." Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly widened her eyes in astonishment and looked at Gu En. "Pan?" Gu En, Zhen Qin's expression turned peculiar, and she quickly asked, "Master, could you actually be Pan?" Gu En smiled and said, "This is my biggest secret. I'm only telling you. Can you tell Master what's troubling you?" Gu En could feel that Zhen Qin came today wanting to share her troubles but was afraid of something, so he revealed his identity as Pan and to draw her out. Although he already knew the truth, he couldn't expose his identity, and what Zhen Qin needed was to confide in someone close by. Zhen Qin gritted her teeth and said, "I'm afraid of dragging Master into this. If you don't say anything and something happens, you'll not only drag me into it, but it will also become my burden. That would harm me more." Gu En shook his head. Zhen Qin felt relieved and smiled for the first time. At Gu En's gesture, she moved to the other side of the desk and began to talk about Su Han's death. Gu En got up to pour tea, and Zhen Qin's gaze followed his back, trying to see his reaction. However, she couldn't see through anything. Had Master already let go of senior brother Su? Zhen Qin thought to herself. She couldn't blame Guan. She owed Su Han for covering for her, but her master owed him nothing. Guan brought a bowl of hot tea in front of her, looking at her calmly as she spoke. When she finished, Guan said, "The deceased have passed. You should live according to his wishes, not inherit his hatred. But think about what he said to you before he died. What do you think he hoped for you to do?" Guan interrupted her and asked solemnly. Zhen Qin remained silent. Guan continued, "Let alone whether you can defeat the ghost mother of ephemera, the world is so vast. Are you going to spend your whole life searching for her? Cultivate well and experience the world your senior brother wanted to see. Do the things he couldn't achieve. That is truly good for him. There is a divine intent in the unseen world. Your senior brother ultimately attracted a body of sins, but inheriting his power means you share his fate, whether for good or ill. It's all up to your intentions." Zhen Qin was filled with countless thoughts, her expression complex. Guan was not rushed, he merely provided guidance. To let go, she needed to rely on herself. Zhen Qin looked up at Guan. Now, in her eyes, he seemed very weak. Since inheriting Su Han's cultivation, Zhen Qin had already formed her nascent soul, and her cultivation level was still growing. It was inevitable she saw others from a superior viewpoint, but tonight, she felt deeply ashamed. What use was mere cultivation level? She took a deep breath and asked, "Master, if I perform good deeds, will it really help senior brother Su?" Guan answered, "I am not sure, but at least this way, you can free yourself and fulfill his wishes." Zhen Qin chuckled, instantly returning to her usual lively and mischievous demeanor. "Master, you are Panin. You hit it well. Earlier, I even thought you were the author of the Supreme Secret Records." "I ain't talking nonsense. How could Master be such a person?" "Wait, does she also read the Supreme Secret Records?" Guan's expression turned peculiar. Shenzhen truly was a scourge, corrupting so many people. Zhen Qin snorted. "Who told Master to love reading Green Hero Travelogue? They are all rumors. Don't believe them." The master and disciple duo began to argue. A long while passed. Guan spoke, defying fate divine skill, "Master knows. Someone wants to pass it on to me. I can put in a good word for you, allowing you to become a true disciple and embark on a proper immortal cultivation path." Zhen Qin was once again shocked, not expecting her master to have such an opportunity. "Master, who is it? Are they powerful?" Zhen Qin asked curiously. "Sect leader LV Badian, do you think he's powerful?" "Does that mean, Master, you will become a great cultivator of the unification realm in the future?" "I did not agree, and his lifespan is long. Perhaps he will live longer than your master. This matter cannot be spread, to avoid trouble." "I understand, Master. To be honest, I am now a nascent soul realm cultivator. These years, hiding my cultivation level has been really uncomfortable." Zhen Qin began to complain. Guan laughed and said, "Master understands you." "How do you understand?" "Fine, I do not understand. Can Master hit you for daring to show off to Master?" The master and disciple again started to bicker. It was almost dawn when Zhen Qin finally went downstairs. Passing by the blood prison great saint, she squatted in front of him, stroked his bovine head, and whispered with a laugh, "Little bull, I can now become a nascent soul realm cultivator." Impressive, right? The blood prison great saint opened his eyes and glanced at her. Crazy. He finally understood that this upper realm was full of crazy people. After muttering a few more words, Zhen Qin leaped up and flew toward the outer gate city. It was not until noon that Guan used his disciple token to contact LV Badian to help change Zhen Qin's disciple status. LV Badian was very interested in the transmission of the defying fate divine skill to Zhen Qin and agreed right away. Another nightfall arrived. That night, Guan left Mystic Valley, stepping on the limitless freedom step and heading west, crossing mountains and lands, and entering the ocean. Step by step, the distance that a ninth-layer wandering immortal could traverse was immense. This time, he took a full 100 steps and landed on a small continent. Standing on the beach, his divine sense enveloped the continent. He saw many demon creatures, but no cultivators of the human race. This continent should not be sunk by giant sea demons. Guan walked into the forest. He didn't immediately find a place to break through but instead took a look around the continent. Meanwhile, in the demon land, in the dim tunnel, Xian Tianyi and Anhao were walking. Anhao was very nervous and kept looking behind him. Cultivators observe with divine sense, not with eyes. Didn't LV Baiyin teach you that? Walking ahead, Xian Tianyi asked casually. Anhao looked at his back, feeling a bit reassured. This was the only Mahayana realm cultivator in the supreme sect on the surface. In the 3 dynasty regions, he was second only to his master among the cultivators of the human race. Following Xian Tianyi, even in dangerous situations, they should be able to escape with their lives. Anhao asked, I always feel this journey is too quiet without any demon obstruction, as if they intentionally let us in. Perhaps. Xian Tianyi responded casually. Not long after, the two walked out of the tunnel and arrived at a cliff. Looking out, they saw a vast underground space, with rolling magma below, like a blazing lake. Xian Tianyi looked down at the magma lake, the firelight casting shadows on his face. Anhao also looked down, but his expression was tense. Such dense demonic qi, is the evil demon hiding below? Anhao asked in a low voice. Xian Tianyi said, You've been following for so long. Why don't you come out? As soon as he said this, Anhao was shocked and quickly looked around. Immediately, he saw mysterious figures shrouded in demonic qi emerging from the distant cave walls, 7 in total. Xian Tianyi said softly, I didn't tell you earlier because I was afraid you'd be in danger separated from me. Just watch how I handle these sneaky ones. With that he stepped forward, walking in midair. Anhao remained vigilant, drawing out his treasure sword and keeping an eye on his surroundings. Under the tree, Guan sat in meditation, leaning against the trunk. He had activated the lifespan barrier and looked up through the leaves at the crescent moon in the night sky. Tonight's weather was excellent. It was as if heaven and earth were celebrating for him. Guan's lips curled up as he opened the attribute panel. Name, Guan, lifespan, 96/10376008. Physique, mystic holy body, cultivation level, wandering immortal realm, 9th layer, 10,376,000 years of lifespan. Because of the failure to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm from the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he needed to wait 20,000 years, so Guan chose to invest 1,000,000 years first. 50 attempts, gambling on a stroke of luck. What if he got lucky? The simulation began. You cultivated energy absorption for 20,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation but did not survive and failed the tribulation crossing. Failure. Failure. Guan remained calm, first playing with 200,000 years, succeeding would be nice, but failure was acceptable. As expected, all attempts failed. He then invested another 100,000 years. One after another, lines of equally long prompts kept appearing. All failures again, 100 failed tribulation crossings. Another 50 attempts, surely he'd succeed now? More practically identical prompts popped up, and now Guan could no longer keep a straight face. 3,000,000 years of lifespan and still no breakthrough. He couldn't help but look again at the words heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation. He truly wanted to see what this heavenly tribulation looked like. He hoped someone could show him in reality how to overcome the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation someday. Guan took a deep breath and chose to invest 50,000 years of lifespan. Failure. Failure. Consecutive failures struck at Guan's Taoist heart, until a prompt suddenly grew longer. You cultivated energy absorption for 38,000 years. Using the great accomplishment of the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcibly attempted to break through to the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You faced the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation and survived, succeeding in the tribulation crossing. Your cultivation level has broken through to the first layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm. Chapter 199. Breakthrough to the 9th level of heaven and earth flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 390,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 2nd layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 400,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 3rd layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 420,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 4th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. You cultivated in energy absorption for 500,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 8th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. Seeing all the indications fall, Guwen summarized the pattern and invested another 30,000 years of his lifespan, successfully reaching the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. At the same time, nature's spiritual energy already bore into his body, symbolizing the start of his breakthrough. It felt so comfortable. Guwen considered whether to spend another 30,000 years of lifespan to foresee the name of the next realm, but then thought it would be futile, for what use was knowing a name? The surrounding forest began to shake violently as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth descended. The ground beneath Guwen showed signs of a qi, and the speed at which spiritual energy entered his body became faster. He began to imagine the heavenly flying immortal realm. What is the difference between a wandering immortal and a heavenly flying immortal? Guwen looked at the sky. In the depths of his mind, he felt it was related to the heavens. After reaching the wandering immortal realm, he could sense a certain power from the heavens suppressing all beings, making it impossible to leave. Wandering immortals could break free from the constraints of heaven and earth rules but could not escape the suppression from the heavenly power above. Boom! The speed at which spiritual energy entered his body reached an unprecedented level, even making Guwen somewhat alarmed. How wide a range of spiritual energy was needed for this? It didn't take long for the entire continent's living creatures to be startled, with birds flying chaotically, beasts fleeing wildly, and the earth trembling. Guwen did not bother to worry about the commotion, as a large amount of immortal insights poured into his body. Heavenly flying immortal. One can leap beyond heaven and earth, roam the universe. One can peep into yin and yang, and control the 5 elements. Upon reaching this level, one must delve into the path of 5 elements to progress further. The heaven and earth primordial skill Guwen practiced was precisely a 5 elements cultivation technique, so his breakthrough went smoothly. His primordial spirit underwent an unprecedented transformation, giving his soul a feeling of joy surpassing any form of pleasure. An hour later, Guwen completely crossed into the heavenly flying immortal realm. The oceans surrounding the continent also erupted into monstrous waves, a scene formed by countless underwater demonic beasts surging, affecting unknowable miles. Guwen opened his eyes, his primordial spirit leaping out of his body. He instinctively wanted to break free from the lifespan barrier, leap out of this heaven and earth, and peek into the higher world. However, he restrained himself. He gazed up at the night sky, his eyes penetrating millions of miles high, and he saw an invisible membrane enveloping the night sky, like a prison cage binding all beings of heaven and earth. He felt he could cross that invisible heavenly layer, but he didn't dare to at the moment. Having no understanding of the world beyond, he couldn't rush there. Suddenly, Guwen spotted that invisible heavenly layer producing ripples. He looked towards the direction from which the ripples came and saw a figure descending from the sky, falling to the end of heaven and earth. Someone arriving from the outer heavens? He dared not look too closely, fearing to disturb the other. He suddenly realized that the world and the outer heavens weren't so isolated. Heavenly flying immortals of this heaven and earth would venture out but also return? He continued to enjoy the process of spiritual energy tempering his body. After the breakthrough, his primordial spirit had already transformed into a flying immortal primordial spirit, capable of slipping into yin and yang. By Yin, it did not mean underground but another world contrary to this one. He could see the wandering souls in heaven and earth, and those souls about to enter reincarnation, flying into the sky, and disappearing less than 100,000 miles above, being pulled into the underworld by reincarnation. Guwen could already sense the chilling aura of the underworld, so cold that he didn't wish to trespass. His cultivation level continued to rise. The speed of spiritual energy entering his body still increased, the chi sea on the ground resembling waves ready to engulf him at any moment. His primordial spirit continued to gaze at the sky. An hour later, he saw a heavenly flying immortal escaping into the outer heavens in the distance, confirming even more that this world had other heavenly flying immortals, and reaching the heavenly flying immortal realm did not mean one had to leave this realm. It suggested that the heavenly flying immortal realm might not be the highest realm in this world. No matter what, Gu En's desire to explore the outer heavens was not that intense. Staying in the comfort zone was the safest. Being able to grow stronger, why leave the comfort zone? Time flowed quickly. A full 2 ancient hours passed before Gu En's cultivation level stabilized at the 9th layer of the heavenly flying immortal realm. The lifespan barrier consumed nearly 700,000 years of lifespan, an exaggeration. The next breakthrough, to fully reinforce, would consume millions of years of lifespan just on the lifespan barrier? A heavy burden and a long path ahead. After the spiritual energy no longer entered his body, and the world returned to calm, Guwen slowly stood up. He did not immediately remove the lifespan barrier but sensed his own strength. His mana and senses both underwent a transformation. The 9 heavens of the immortal path, and the gaps thereafter would only grow wider. Guwen felt that a wandering immortal couldn't defeat a heavenly flying immortal across realms. Mastering any divine power would not suffice. Elsewhere, in the demon land, within a dark forest, a space rift suddenly appeared, and a severely injured Enhao was tossed out from it. He immediately got up and flew south, constantly calling for his master in his heart, but unfortunately, as before, his master did not appear. Damn it, it's all because I'm too weak. Enhao gritted his teeth, his pride shattered that night. The scenes of Xian Tianyi using a mysterious scroll to send him away kept flashing in his mind, and his ears echoed with Xian Tianyi's ambitious words. Go back, I won't die here, wait for me to return and find you. The more carefree Xian Tianyi appeared, the more worried Enhao became, as those 7 mysterious great cultivators were overwhelmingly powerful. Xian Tianyi was absolutely outmatched. Who exactly are they? What did Senior Xian leave on my back? Enhao thought anxiously and angrily, recalling how before parting, Xian Tianyi slapped him into the space rift. At the moment he was struck, he felt his back burn, and now it itched as though someone were using a small knife to carve words on his back. He felt Senior Xian detected something and left the information on his back, but now he could not use his divine sense to check. Whenever his divine sense approached his back, it was repelled by a mysterious power. He quickly took out a spirit energy elixir and forcefully poured it into his mouth. His gaze became determined. He would definitely return. If Xian Tianyi died, no matter who the murderer was, he would seek revenge for Xian Tianyi. The moon set and the sun rose. Heaven and earth completely calmed down, and Guwen then removed the lifespan barrier and headed towards the Supreme Sect. With just 3 steps, he returned to the Supreme Sect. He returned to the Mystic Valley, came down from the building, and rode the Blood Prison Great Saint towards Tianya Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint could feel his good mood, humming an unfamiliar tune. He had to admit, it sounded quite nice. Guwen spread his divine sense, taking in the entire continent, even encompassing the surrounding seas. He began to inspect old friends one by one. Jiang Qiong's Juhua sect seemed very harmonious, and she was practicing in the sect master's mansion. Yi Lan was handling affairs of the law enforcement hall, appearing very different from how she faced Guwen, exuding an ice queen temperament. Li Ya and Zhang Buku were being chased by a great demon, appearing dangerous but likely to survive. Guwen also saw Enhao, who was escaping. With no pursuers behind, he couldn't be bothered to intervene. His divine sense swept over friends and disciples, and then glanced at the demonic energy-filled land still teeming with many 7-stars spirit realm cultivators. Gu felt he could easily break the seal and spy on the evil demon but refrained. The 7-stars spirit realm's growth speed couldn't keep up with his own. Unless the 7-stars spirit realm actively provoked him, he intended to lay low. Anyway, the Three Dynasties land was far from the demonic energy land, and unless it was a catastrophic disaster, he preferred not to intervene. After leaving the Mystic Valley's range, the Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his body enveloped by a terrifying power, causing his steps to falter as the surrounding environment changed drastically. They immediately found themselves less than 200 miles away from Tianya Valley. What kind of divine skill was this? The Blood Prison Great Saint marveled internally. It wasn't his first time experiencing this divine skill, but he had no idea how far they had traveled due to being sealed by the path of returning primordial spirit. As the strongest being in the spirit realm, he was trying to sense Gu'an's divine skills to learn, but had yet to figure out the trick. Half a day later, Gu'an again rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to arrive at the Third Medicine Valley. The disciples had grown accustomed to seeing him always riding a bull, and some even went to buy first-order mounts in the outer gate city to imitate him, though first-order demon beasts rarely had the presence of the bull demon king. He sensed Shenzhen's presence, waiting for him in a pavilion. This guy isn't releasing another book so soon, right? Gu'an urged the Blood Prison Great Saint to quicken his pace, reaching the pavilion and dismounting. Watching Gu'an's anxious back, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt stifled. In such a hurry, couldn't he just walk himself? It was just a few steps. He couldn't understand why Gu'an needed to act weak in front of these minor cultivators, so he lay down to sleep, reliving his invincible moments in his dreams. Entering the room, Gu'an closed the door. Shenzhen sat on a chair, pointing to a jade scroll on the table with a mysterious smile. Gu'an approached the table and asked, "What is this?" Shenzhen raised her white chin, proudly smiling. "This is my new work, guaranteed to shock the immortal cultivation world." Gu'an looked skeptical, picking up the jade scroll and probing it with his divine sense. His face instantly turned red and he immediately withdrew his divine sense, incredulously looking at Shenzhen. You did this?" Gu'an asked, trembling. Could she be a genius? This creation could indeed shock the immortal cultivation world. It was incredible, damn it, it was outrageous. Shenzhen raised an eyebrow, smiling. "How is it? Isn't the idea of making pictures move like real people amazing?" Gu'an didn't know how to respond. Immortal cultivation world anime? But this anime was too lifelike, no different from real people. Using such design in the Supreme Secret Records plot was truly impactful. Gu'an resisted the tumult in his heart, asking, "Who is the male cultivator in it?" Shenzhen looked at him, blinking. "I didn't use your face, but thinking of other men was too uncomfortable for me, so I had him wear a mask." Gu'an fell silent. No wonder the mask. Chapter 200. Do you know my cultivation level? Gu'an, suppressing his complicated emotions, asked, "This thing is too groundbreaking, are you really going to do it? The commotion might be bigger than writing a book." In fact, the Supreme Secret Records written by Shenzhen had always been forbidden by the Supreme Sect. If she were not the holy daughter of the Daotian sect, Gu'an suspected she would have long been captured. Shenzhen retorted, "I haven't killed or set fires, what's the Supreme Sect going to do, throw me in jail? But you are, after all, a woman. If this gets exposed, how will people see you? How will they view your father or the Daotian sect?" Gu'an spoke earnestly. Shenzhen's nature wasn't bad, nor did she have any emotional entanglements. Whenever he used his divine sense to survey the world, he would also glance at her. When she wasn't seeking him, she was mostly in her cave cultivating or delving into music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Shenzhen fixed her gaze on him and asked, "You don't like what I'm doing?" Gu'an responded, "I'm just worried about you." Shenzhen couldn't help but smile, and she took out a new jade scroll. Handing it to Gu'an, Gu'an hesitated for a moment but still used his divine sense to inspect the jade scroll. Immediately his eyebrows raised. It wasn't just an action illusion, but the process of cultivating divine skills. The person in the Jade Scroll was Xinjun, and it recorded her divine skills cultivation process, even including the meditation spells. After a while, Gu-in withdrew his divine sense, his gaze fixed on Xinjun. Xinjun hummed, "This is my real creation, isn't it more conducive to inheritance?" Gu-in nodded, saying, "Very good, it gives people more direction during cultivation." With that, he placed the 2 jade scrolls on the table. Shenzhen began to recount the experience of her and Lu Lingjun's training. They had ventured into the grotto heaven of an ancient great cultivator, filled with dangers, and only after great effort did they obtain the inheritance and treasures. Gu-in listened avidly, occasionally exclaiming in amazement, gratifying Shenzhen's desire to talk. She loved discussing these things with Gu-in, while talking to others might attract unwanted attention. With Gu-in, she enjoyed his praise without that risk. After a long time, Shenzhen finally stood up and said, "I'll leave this divine skills jade scroll with you." Before Gu-in could refuse, she headed for the door and quickly went downstairs. Gu-in looked at the jade scroll on the table, wanting to call out to Shenzhen, "Why not take the other one? Forget it. Had better keep this one to prevent anyone from going astray." Gu-in had memories of his past life and had long experienced the corruption of this thing. His willpower in this aspect was far beyond that of the people in the immortal cultivation world. He felt it was his duty to bear this mental burden for the cultivators. Elsewhere, Shenzhen, upon going downstairs, couldn't resist teasing the blood prison great saint, annoying him greatly. Until nightfall, Gu-in finally took the blood prison great saint back to Mystic Valley. Late at night, Gu-in quietly arrived at Nianchu Cave of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yaoer was cultivating, while 2 cat demons were playing. Seeing Gu-in appear, they quickly stopped and lay on the ground. Although they hadn't shapeshifted yet, they were highly intelligent and, under Tian Yaoer's guidance, they were very respectful towards Gu-in. Gu-in nodded at them, then sat at the stone table and began contemplating the matters of a grotto heaven. With his current cultivation level, opening up an independent minor heaven and earth wasn't difficult, but the challenge was in raising the spiritual energy. He couldn't instantly create a minor heaven and earth filled with spiritual energy. Next, he planned to collect high-grade celestial treasures to prepare for his grotto heaven. He was now thinking about where to hide the grotto heaven. Although the minor heaven and earth within the grotto heaven was hidden in another space, the entrance to the real world was fixed and couldn't move. After much thought, Gu-in decided to open the grotto heaven on the mainland. This mainland was vast and had fewer immortal realms, making it suitable for him to develop slowly. At this time, Tian Yaoer approached and asked what he was thinking. Gu-in didn't hide anything, as the grotto heaven would eventually need to be managed by her. To seize lifespan, he needed to personally harvest it with his mana, as puppets or clones weren't reliable. The clones of his 9 extremes yin-yang body, though called clones, were actually formed by his mana and lacked independent thought. Gu-in had no interest in clones. He preferred to directly experience life and growth. Tian Yaoer, upon hearing this, was secretly shocked. The master had already opened a minor heaven and earth? She wondered if Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother could do the same? Having cultivated for so long, she wasn't naive. She was increasingly certain that the master was stronger than the Demon Mother. It was just that he claimed he couldn't defeat the Demon Mother to encourage her to cultivate. She felt no resentment towards this. Her enemies needed to be dealt with by her own hands. Just said it here at Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It said that Heavenly Phoenix Mountain was once a habitat for phoenixes. Every few thousand years, enormous spiritual energy surges from the ground, producing countless celestial treasures. Tian Yaoer said earnestly. Gu-in thought it made sense. Then he sent his divine sense underground to open up a minor heaven and earth. The grotto heaven couldn't be too close to Nianchu Cave to avoid affecting the growth of medicinal herbs here. It should ideally be near the great earth spirit lineage, so it could absorb the underground spiritual energy. An hour later, Gu-in successfully opened it. Unlike other great cultivators who needed to fill it with soil and water, he could directly manifest it with his mana, thanks to his 5 elements attribute. However, the plants would still need to be relocated manually. For now, he wasn't in a hurry. He would let the grotto heaven absorb spiritual energy first. With the arrival of the new year, the Supreme Sect was busy with celebrations and all cities were bustling. Guan rode the blood prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. Although they attracted many gazes along the way, no one was surprised. Nowadays, many disciples in the outer gate city rode mounts, and numerous majestic demon birds circled above the city. The blood prison Great Saint was also very interested in the outer gate city, constantly looking around. "Brother Gu, long time no see." A light laugh sounded, and Guan turned his head to see Di Xie approaching. Di Xie had gotten acquainted with Suolin and Guan when he first arrived. He had always hidden his true identity, and now only the high levels of the Supreme Sect knew that he was the son of the Demon Emperor. Guan dismounted with a smile, raised his hand, and cupped his fists. Di Xie looked at the blood prison Great Saint, examining it, and said, "Brother Gu, this mount of yours seems to have a unique bloodline?" Although the blood prison Great Saint's cultivation level was low, Di Xie could still sense some unusual traits, but nothing more. Guan laughed. "He's quite good. I like him a lot, so I take him everywhere with me, but his speed is a bit slow." Di Xie smiled and nodded, then invited Guan for a drink, which Guan didn't refuse. He led the blood prison Great Saint and followed Di Xie. They chatted and laughed along the way, their relationship harmonious. After experiencing the demon catastrophe, Di Xie cherished his friendship with Suolin and Guan even more. The human and demon races shouldn't be forever locked in conflict. They could coexist peacefully, just like him and Guan. The two found an inn. Guan left the blood prison Great Saint by the inn's door and asked the innkeeper to keep an eye on him. The two went to the second floor by the window. The first sword competition in the world is about to start. "I'm planning to participate. You must come to watch then," Di Xie said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Guan immediately agreed and wished him success in advance. "I've heard they're preparing to recruit some demon clan disciples. Brother Gu, what do you think about this?" Di Xie asked curiously. He was pleased but also worried when he heard this. He knew well the nature of some demons. If they harmed someone in the Supreme Sect, would that not worsen the conflict? After all, the demon catastrophe had only ended recently, and there was still significant resentment towards demons among the human cultivators. It's a good thing. Didn't some demons help us fight off the evil demons during the catastrophe? Now that the demon ancestor has fallen, but evil demons remain, which are a greater calamity. The human and demon races should unite to overcome the tribulation. Guan said casually. Di Xie observed his expression, trying to figure out his true thoughts, but his words made Di Xie happy. They started drinking, passing cups back and forth, and soon, 2 jars were emptied. An hour later, sounds of a cow and the innkeeper's voice interrupted Guan and Di Xie's conversation. "I need to go down and check," Guan said, standing up. Di Xie nodded and followed him downstairs. In front of the inn's door, more and more disciples gathered. The innkeeper stood in front of the blood prison Great Saint, wearing a forced smile as he looked at the luxurious robed man in front of him, saying, "Sir, I really can't sell this cow. If you want to buy it, you should find the owner upstairs." The man in luxurious robes was arrogant, with 4 attendants behind him, all looking formidable. He looked down at the innkeeper and said, "Go call him down." Before the innkeeper could respond, Guan's voice came from behind, "Brother, sorry, but this cow is not for sale." Guan approached the blood prison Great Saint, patting its head, and gave the luxurious robed man a lifespan detection. This was his habitual action to see the other person's maximum lifespan. Zhou Yi, Divinity Transformation Stage 5th Level 402/880/1200, surname Zhou? Guan thought to himself. After the Ji family left the Supreme Sect, the Zhou family also started leaving, reportedly to support the Zhangqian sect. Zhou Yi looked at Guan and said, 2 top-grade spirit stones, I'll take it. As soon as he said this, the surrounding disciples were in an uproar. A first-order demon beast worth that much? Listening to the discussions around, the blood prison Great Saint was infuriated, his eyes flaring up with rage. He accepted being Guan's steed, but who did this kid think he was? The blood prison great saint judged from the other's aura that he was just a low-level divinity transformation cultivator. Guwen frowned, shaking his head in difficulty. Xie suddenly stepped in front of him and said, "My brother said it's not for sale, stop pestering." Zhou Yi looked him up and down and sneered, "Do you know what my cultivation level is?" "What? Being in the divinity transformation stage 5th level makes you arrogant?" Xie retorted coldly. The crowd was in an uproar again, and the innkeeper stepped back in fear, with Guwen also pretending to be shocked. Zhou Yi asked, frowning, "Who are you?" Xie said calmly, "I am Xie, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd layer." Bang! The whole street exploded into chaos. Zhou Yi and the four behind him all retreated together. Xie glanced at Guwen, giving an apologetic look. The blood prison great saint, at the Mahayana realm 8th layer, felt humiliated. Was the mystic heart realm that prestigious? After he ascended, he shouldn't have been so arrogant. Guwen, at the heaven and earth flying immortal realm 9th level, feigned tension, continuously stroking the cow's head. Chapter 201. Demon shocks the world under the might of Xie. Zhou Yi ultimately withdrew with his men. Before leaving, Zhou Yi still harbored hostility towards Guwen. However, it did not reach the level of hatred, only dissatisfaction, and a desire to teach him a lesson. Afterward, Xie laid his cards on the table with Guwen, revealing his true identity, and left with a look of shock on Guwen's face. He turned his back to Guwen, sighed slightly under the gaze of many disciples on both sides of the street. From now on, it would be challenging for him to befriend Guwen, as the difference in status and cultivation level was clear. Even if he had the inclination to form a bond, Brother Gu would probably feel pressured, wouldn't he? Xie smiled self-deprecatingly. Guwen continued to ride the blood prison great saint around the street. After nearly 2 ancient hours, they finally left the city. On the way to the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guwen introduced the Supreme Sect and those noble families to the blood prison great saint. The blood prison great saint listened intently, for Guwen had said that he would let him go after 1,000 years. Once free, he would still need to understand this great heaven and earth, so it was best to accumulate knowledge now. "Do you know why I captured you?" Guwen asked nonchalantly. The blood prison great saint was no fool and thought it must be related to those 2 half-human, half-demon individuals. "You might think this world is nothing special, but it is far more dangerous than you imagine. This is also why I hide my cultivation level. Serving me for 1,000 years, first to atone for your sins, and second to temper your character. I hope you cherish it." Guwen spoke softly. If the blood prison great saint performed well, he wouldn't mind teaching him the primordial reincarnation skill. The primordial reincarnation skill and the path of returning primordial spirit were, in a sense, a perfect match. It was just right to use the blood prison great saint to experiment and see if it was effective. "Moo," the blood prison great saint responded. Although he could not speak human words, Guwen understood his submissive intention. In fact, the mindset of the blood prison great saint had already changed. He had thought before that following Guwen might be an opportunity. At least Guwen could be his protector. If it hadn't been Guwen who took action against him back then, but another immortal cultivator of similar cultivation level, he might have already died and vanished. Putting himself in someone else's shoes, if someone attacked his disciple or junior, he wouldn't show mercy either. Within the circle of great cultivators in the spirit realm, there was a saying, "It is better to provoke the blood prison great saint himself than to suppress his juniors." The blood prison great saint's pace wasn't fast, and Guwen didn't rush him. During the ride, it seemed as if he was talking to himself, while the blood prison great saint didn't feel annoyed. For some reason, he always felt that Guwen had changed recently. Even a casual remark from him felt inexplicably calming to the blood prison great saint. He didn't believe it was an illusion. It must be related to Guwen's cultivation level. Perhaps he could learn something by following Guwen. After the bustling and busy spring festival, Guwen continued his simple life. During this period, no one from the Zhou family caused trouble for Guwen, perhaps fearing Xie or knowing about his relationship with LV Beiyin. In any case, Guwen didn't mind. Nowadays, he wouldn't regard the Zhou family as a threat. If Zhou Yi harbored any intent to kill him, he would resolve it immediately. In the days that followed, he would go to the inner sect city once a month to sell his medicinal herbs and accumulate spirit stones. He had already spotted a more prosperous cultivation city overseas, planning to go there in the future to purchase a large number of high-rank medical herbs and plant them in his grotto heaven. The days were busy yet purposeful and not at all dull for him. In the blink of an eye, over half a year had passed, and Guwen turned 97 years old. The demonic qi in the north grew thicker, and in a few more years, the so-called evil demon might break the seal. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world was in full swing, and Guwen was also watching the excitement. In the distant demon land, in the underground space wherein Hao parted ways with Xian Tianyi, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the magma with a frown. He saw several skeletons floating and sinking. Behind him stood a group of 7 stars spirit realm cultivators. Below should be the sealed place of the evil demon, right? The demonic qi here is truly terrifying. We must have the seniors of our realm come to handle it. A message has already been sent. We shall hold our ground here first to prevent other cultivators from entering and ruining the plan. You never know when the evil demon will break the seal. If it suddenly happens, we won't be able to hold out. Ji Xianling ignored their chatter, his gaze lingering on the distant cave wall. He saw numerous shocking cracks, indicating a great battle had occurred there before. One of the cracks made him frown. Could it be him? Ji Xianling thought of Xian Tianyi. He had fought with Xian Tianyi countless times and was well aware of his combat methods. The thought of Xian Tianyi possibly dying here made him inexplicably uneasy. Wait, the seal hasn't been broken yet, so why would someone be fighting here? Could someone have tried to stop Xian Tianyi? Who could have arrived here before the 7 stars spirit realm? Ji Xianling furrowed his brows deeply, a terrifying suspicion arising in his mind, making his face turn even grimmer. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Supreme Sect's main city, and Hao stared intently at LV Baidian sitting at the head seat, while LV Baidian frowned deeply. "Master, what should we do?" And Hao asked in a deep voice, with a sense of foreboding in his heart. LV Baidian did not display the fury and Hao expected but remained silent instead. Senior Xian is the only Mahayana realm cultivator we have in the Supreme Sect. We cannot abandon him. And Hao said through gritted teeth. LV Baidian looked at him and said, "You said it yourself, the only one. If even he couldn't withstand it, what can we do? Unless the sword Venerable Fudao intervenes, but we don't even know where he is. We can't ask the entire sect to beg him for one person, right?" And Hao's expression changed several times. Because when he failed to summon his master that night, he thought his master didn't want to get involved. Afterward, he stopped calling for help and rushed back to the Supreme Sect. His master was unwilling to intervene, and the Supreme Sect didn't want to. What should he do? What bothered Hao the most was that he couldn't blame anyone. If he had the strength, he wouldn't need to beg. The Supreme Sect had countless disciples. It was impossible to sacrifice them all for one person. His master didn't owe him or the Supreme Sect anything. Why should he keep cleaning up after him? Suddenly, Hao thought of something. He turned around and removed his robe, exposing his back, saying, "This is left by Senior Xian, seems to be some kind of restriction. My divine sense couldn't decipher it." LV Baidian looked up, eyes widening abruptly, and appeared behind Hao in a flash. He gripped Hao's shoulders tightly, preventing him from moving. "So, that's it." Hearing LV Baidian's words, Hao, though confused, didn't interrupt his master's examination of the restriction on his back. Mid-autumn, the first Sword Dao tournament in the world concluded, and the champion was a Sword Dao great cultivator from the Gu family. Di Xie ranked second. Guwen also watched the final battle between Di Xie and the Gu family great cultivator. If Di Xie hadn't insisted on using a sword, he might not have lost. Though Di Xie was at the Mystic Heart realm, his swordsmanship was exceedingly immature. The first Sword Dao tournament in the world attracted the entire Immortal Cultivation world's attention, bringing immense profit to the Supreme Sect. Other sects began to emulate the Supreme Sect, hosting various tournaments. However, at this stage, cultivators were more interested in the spectacular combat demonstrated in the first Sword Dao tournament in the world. After the tournament, an house sought out an ex-in. The siblings hadn't seen each other for a long time and were very happy, talking for a long while. Guan noticed that An Hao seemed to have something on his mind, but his relationship with An Hao wasn't close enough to inquire. Before leaving, An Hao found Guan, thanked him for taking care of an ex-in, and gifted him many high-rank medical herb seeds. After some polite refusal, Guan reluctantly accepted them. The two didn't talk for long before An Hao took his leave. Guan watched An Hao's departing figure, guessing it was related to his experience in the demon land. Disciple, fear not. Once he emerges, he's dead. Guan thought silently and suddenly recalled Xian Tianyi. An Hao had previously spent time with Xian Tianyi. Why had only An Hao returned? He immediately used his divine sense to scan the entire continent but couldn't find Xian Tianyi. Had Xian Tianyi sailed away? But he hadn't seen him depart. Guan's gaze fixed on that demonic qi-laden area, where numerous 7-stars spirit realm cultivators had gathered, including Ji Xianling, who had previously visited the Supreme Sect. Aside from the deep underground and a few obscure hidden realms, the only remaining place he hadn't explored was the sealed area of the evil demon. Could it be that Xian Tianyi was captured by the 7-star spirit realm or had fallen into the sealed area of the evil demon? 2 months later, the north erupted with terrifying demonic qi, as dreadful as the demonic might of the demon ancestor, alarming the 3 dynasties. Standing up in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan turned to look. Not far away, the blood prison great saint also gazed northward, secretly alarmed. What terrifying demonic qi! This great heaven and earth truly hid dragons and tigers. Who might be behind this demonic qi? Guan only took one glance before continuing to pick medicinal herbs. The blood prison great saint glanced at Guan, seeing his calm demeanor, and felt relieved. Come to think of it, he wasn't clear about Guan's true cultivation level. Disciples in the valley were also disturbed by the distant demonic might. They gathered in groups, discussing the matter. They immediately associated it with the evil demon. Since the Holy Land's emergence and the spread of the legend of the evil demon, it had become a significant concern among people. After the eruption, the demonic might persisted, not dispersing, though it didn't affect the disciples' lives. It made them feel oppressed and uneasy. Early the next morning, many cultivators flew over the 3rd Medicine Valley, heading north. Guan's divine sense observed the 3 dynasties, noting that various sects were sending many cultivators toward the demon land. He wasn't worried. Judging from the current aura, the evil demon was at the level of a loose immortal and had not completely broken free from the seal. He wanted to see if the 7-star spirit realm would truly assist the 3 dynasties' human race in resisting the evil demon. Meanwhile, in a forest, Jianghu followed Li Ye, unable to restrain himself from asking, "Brotherly, with such demonic qi, it must be the legendary evil demon. We should stay away and let the great cultivators handle it." Chapter 202. The elder uncle is called Guan. Do you know him? The world is in distress. How can we cultivators sit idly by? This has nothing to do with cultivation level. It's about spirit. Li Ye said without turning his head, his tone resolute and powerful, causing Jianghu to feel somewhat ashamed. In terms of awareness, he was indeed not as good as Brother Li. Of course, if we get an opportunity, that's even better. Let's try it. The more people there are, the easier it is to blend in. At least we won't be easy targets. Li Ye shifted his tone and continued. Jianghu twitched his mouth but did not refute. He twisted his arm and said, "Brother Li, it seems my old injury is acting up." "Hold it in. Is your injury more serious than mine? As men, even if we die, it's just a scar as big as a bowl. What are you afraid of? If you're scared, you'll lose for a lifetime." Li Ye snorted, his gaze penetrating the gaps in the leaves, looking at the rolling demonic clouds in the sky, his thoughts drifting. Jianghu pouted, secretly thinking that he was just good at talking big. Having been together for so long, it's true that he couldn't bear to abandon Li Ye. "Forget it, this brother for a lifetime, I'll follow him through the mountains of swords and seas of flames. Jianghu consoled himself in his heart. He followed up and asked, Brother Li, where do you think the blood prison great saint we encountered before is now? He's an ascended being. Is he looking for a sect to establish himself? Li casually answered, Naturally, one person can't establish themselves in the immortal cultivation world. The Mahayana realm sounds strong, but it's not invincible. But with his ability, he is probably being revered by some sect now, living much better than the two of us brothers. Indeed. Jianghu clicked his tongue in amazement. Without a sect as a backing, he deeply understood how difficult it was for a person to wander the immortal cultivation world alone. The two chatted while advancing. The demonic clouds in the sky continued to spread, seemingly marching towards the entire mortal world like a calamity. Guan rode on the back of the blood prison great saint, heading towards the pavilion area. His divine sense already locked onto the depths of the demon land. Amid a desolate land, the ground cracked open, spreading like a spider web. Majestic demonic chi erupted from the earth's crevices, soaring to the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. It was as if a peerless evil demon was about to break out from the ground, creating a suffocating atmosphere between heaven and earth. Guan observed cultivators constructing a transmission array platform on a cliff about 50,000 miles from the place where the evil demon was breaking its seal. They probably belonged to the seven-star spirit realm, as Ji Xianling was among them. At this moment, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of the cliff, his brows furrowed. A woman in white walked up to him, smilingly asked, What's the matter? Are you afraid? Ji Xianling glanced at her indifferently. No matter how strong the evil demon is, can it be stronger than Sword Venerable Fudao? I've been to the Supreme Sect. It's different. These two haven't fought. Besides, you represented the seven-star spirit realm going to the Supreme Sect. Why would Sword Venerable Fudao attack you? The woman in white shook her head. Ji Xianling continued to look ahead, ignoring the woman in white. The woman in white added, Elder Lin is here too. He is a loose immortal. With his intervention, we should get through this tribulation. Elder Lin. Ji Xuanling's brows furrowed again, his doubts growing stronger. The terrible conjecture seemed to be about to be confirmed. He always believed that the seven-star spirit realm was the true Holy Land and took pride in being born in the seven-star spirit realm. But recently, more and more things made him feel that the seven-star spirit realm harbored many unspeakable secrets, secrets that might shatter its holy name, driving him to the brink. What tortured him the most was that he guessed the truth but didn't dare to reveal it, and still had to follow orders. Rumble. The demonic clouds in the sky began to emit thunderous sounds, like ancient demon gods roaring, causing unrest among all beings. Guan watched for a long time. When the blood prison great saint returned to the pavilion, he dismounted. Although cultivators from all over the world were heading north, and even the demon clan was mobilizing troops towards the evil demon's seal, he was not in a hurry. Better wait for the evil demon to revive before taking action. He suspected that the seven-star spirit realm wanted to eliminate the evil demon themselves to make a name for themselves, but he felt that the rising speed of the demonic chi might disrupt their plan. Unless the seven-star spirit realm dispatched a wandering immortal. Just right to use the evil demon to test the strength of the seven-star spirit realm on the continent. In the days following, news of the imminent revival of the evil demon spread wildly within the Supreme Sect, even reaching the disciples in Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Guan could feel that the evil demon was about to break its seal ahead of time for some unknown reason. He didn't bother to speculate on the reason, as long as the evil demon didn't grow strong enough to exceed his control. Judging by the current pace of its chi rising, it would take another 100 years to pose a threat to Guan. The difference between heaven and earth flying immortal and wandering immortal was like the gap between mortals and immortals, not to mention that the evil demon had not yet reached the wandering immortal realm. The seven stars spirit realm side hadn't made a move yet, they were also waiting. Guan thought they would act only when the three Chao cultivators gathered, which would be their chance to make a name. In the blink of an eye, A month quickly passed, and a large number of 3-Chow cultivators had gathered where the 7 Stars Spirit Realm cultivators were stationed. The evil demon's chi had almost reached the wandering Immortal realm, sending a chill down all cultivators' spines. Let alone scouting for information, they didn't even dare to send their divine senses into Demon Land. On the wasteland, the Supreme Sect cultivators gathered to build houses, with formations set up around the perimeter. LV Baitin stood on a terrace, his gaze fixed on the distant cliff, where the 7 Stars Spirit Realm was stationed, isolated as a holy land, not mingling with the 3-Chow sections. All the sects gathered on the wasteland under the cliff, but the 7 Stars Spirit Realm remained aloof. Ji Hantian approached LV Baitin, whispered, "There's still no sign of Shen Tianyi. Could he really have perished in Demon Land?" His brows furrowed. Shen Tianyi was a rare talent in the Supreme Sect in thousands of years and their strongest person on the surface. Losing Shen Tianyi would mean half of the Supreme Sect's foundation crumbling. Regardless, we must prepare for the possibility that he can't fight. LV Baitin said solemnly. Ji Hantian looked at LV Baitin, deep in thought. After a long while, he finally asked, "Sect leader, are you hiding something from me? If Shen Tianyi is really dead, how can you be so unperturbed? You are too calm." LV Baitin shook his head and turned to go downstairs. In the distance, Leah led Zhang Buku into the Supreme Sect's encampment. Zhang Buku looked around, full of curiosity. "I heard the Supreme Sect started recruiting Demon Clan disciples. You should join later, I'll recommend you." Leah softly laughed. Zhang Buku asked, "Really?" He was visibly excited. Leah glanced at him, curiously asking, "Why so excited? When I introduced you to the cultivators of the Zhangtian sect, you weren't this thrilled." Zhang Buku took a deep breath. "Truth be told, my father was an outer sect servant disciple of the Supreme Sect. Since childhood, I've heard tales of the Supreme Sect from him. Naturally, I yearn for it." Due to Zhang Buku's tragic background, Leah never asked much, afraid of saddening him. Today, hearing this, he couldn't help but ask, "What's your father's name? By the way, I also started as an outer sect servant disciple. Maybe I knew your father." Zhang Buku turned his head. "My father's name was Zhang Chuanqiu." "What?" Leah stopped in his tracks, staring at Zhang Buku in stunned surprise. Surprised, Zhang Buku asked, "Brother Li, you knew him?" First shocked, Leah then remembered that Zhang Buku's father had passed away. His mood dropped. "Was your father a servant disciple in Medicine Valley?" "When I joined the valley, he was my senior brother," Leah said with mixed emotions. Zhang Buku was excited again. "Really? I didn't expect we had such a connection." "Right, you mentioned a martial uncle earlier. What's his name? Why didn't your father mention me?" Leah asked. Just as he finished, his mind suddenly jolted. "Wait, isn't this messing up the seniority?" Zhang Buku replied, "Martial uncle's name is Guan. Do you know him?" "Junior brother Gu," Leah immediately realized. Indeed, back in Medicine Valley, senior brother Zhang Chunkia's favorite was junior brother Gu. Junior brother Gu was kind to everyone, universally liked. It's natural that senior brother Zhang Chuanqiu remembered him. Zhang Buku also realized, scratching his head, "Should I call you Martial Uncle Li?" "Forget it, brotherly flows better. Well, each stick to our own." Seeing his shameless expression, Leah felt somewhat vexed. They'd been calling each other brothers for years, it was hard to change now. After all, Zhang Buku only saw him, their previous relationship might as well not count. Zhang Buku nervously asked, "Brother Li, how's your relationship with Martial Uncle Gu?" Hearing this, Leah suddenly wanted to alter the relationship. He looked up, proudly smiled. "Of course, we're the best of brothers." "Really?" Zhang Buku was overjoyed. Leah asked skeptically, "Why are you so curious about him? Have you seen him?" "Of course, when I was young and my father hadn't yet passed, Martial Uncle Gu came to my house. He even brought me a top-grade spirit elixir. He's my only elder in this world." Zhang Buku said seriously. "Only elder?" Li Ya's mouth twitched. "In that case, you'd better call me Martial Uncle." "No way, we'll each stick to our own." If junior brother Gu hears this, I'll be a joke. What? Last year when the Demon King nearly tore you apart, I risked my life to save you. Didn't you say we're brothers for life? Now you're denying it? Jianghu glared. They had already sworn brotherhood. How could he recognize his brother as a martial uncle? Leah opened his mouth, feeling somewhat stifled. Jianghu looked around, muttering, I wonder if martial Uncle Gu is here. Leah sneered. He's just a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, besides, he's timid. How could he be here? Foundation Establishment Realm? Jianghu was taken aback. He had seen martial Uncle Gu slay demons. To be honest, he felt martial Uncle Gu was stronger than Leah. But he had promised martial Uncle Gu not to reveal his acts of heroism. So he held back. Seeing Li Ya's expression, he clearly didn't know martial Uncle Gu's true cultivation level. Such a proud person, if he knew the truth, had definitely hassle martial Uncle Gu? Jianghu thought secretly, feeling rather delighted. Knowing martial Uncle Gu's secret, did it mean martial Uncle Gu saw him as closer? Chapter 203. The Evil Demon Breaks the Seal. It's him. Jianghu could not find Guan within the Supreme Sect's camp, as Guan was still busy planting seeds. He had come to the grotto heaven he had cultivated beforehand, scattering ordinary herb seeds to improve the soil. Once the matter with the evil demon was resolved, he planned to go overseas to buy a large number of high-rank medicinal herb seeds. Decades had passed, and Guan had accumulated a vast fortune, enough for him to spend lavishly. The demonic power from the north persisted, affecting all life. Wherever Guan went, he heard people worrying about it. Simultaneously, Guan overheard another discourse. Some were constantly advocating for the Holy Land, claiming that this calamity would not spread to the human realm with the Holy Land's intervention. Using his divine sense to cover the land of 3 dynasties, Guan saw many people specifically spreading this news. From the karma around them, he deduced they were entrusted by 7 Stars Spirit Realm cultivators. Indeed, the Holy Land's means were far beyond the Supreme Sects. After witnessing how difficult it was to control the sword Venerable Fudao, the 7 Stars Spirit Realm acted swiftly. Moreover, Guan noticed batches of cultivators landing from the sea, some among them even Nirvana Realm great cultivators. They infiltrated the 3 dynasties to gather information. Some were investigating the sword Venerable Fudao, others the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Guan did not pay too much attention, as long as they didn't appear before him. Time continued to pass. About half a month later, as autumn drew to a close, Guan was riding the Blood Prison Great Saint, wandering around the 3rd Medicine Valley when his divine sense turned northward. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm had begun to take action. Guan saw among them appearing a loose Immortal, whose aura was no weaker than startling Immortal Lin's, even without releasing his pressure. In the depths of the Demon Land, at the edge of the Demon Land. All disciples, prepare for battle. A bold voice resounded throughout the Supreme Sect's encampment, prompting all disciples to begin mobilizing. Not only the Supreme Sect but other sects were the same. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm dispatched disciples to various sects, instructing on battle tactics. Even powerful sects like the Zhangtian sect did not dare refuse, only complying, as the 7 Stars Spirit Realm had great cultivators at the realm of Immortal Path. When the 7 Stars Spirit Realm's cultivators flew toward the depths of the Demon Land like arrow showers, dozens of sects spread out, ready to encircle the Demon Land from different directions. And Hao, Liya, and Jianghu were among them. The Supreme Sect's Mystic Heart Realm had only one representative, Ancestor Xianquan. Other sects were the same, with even the strongest Zhangtian sect only sending a Taoist lord, not even bringing any Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators. They all knew the battle's key lay with the Holy Land. And Hao gazed at the backs of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm cultivators, frowning deeply in thought. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators followed LV Bayin in flight, everyone tense. Even with the Holy Land at the forefront, they still felt anxious, as the Holy Land had stated that the evil demon could not be completely eradicated by them. In the 7 Stars Spirit Realm faction, Ji Zunling's eyes held complex emotions as he looked at the elder at the very front. That elder was the Lin family's loose immortal, named Ancestor Lin Lu, holding a high position within the Six Stars Cave. Not only was his cultivation profound, but he himself had lived for nearly 10,000 years. Ancestor Lin Lu wore a large purple robe, his white hair bound beneath a coronet, and his weathered face exuded vitality with bright eyes, making him appear imposing. Suddenly his eyes squinted, and in the direction he gazed upon, the barren earth ahead was riddled with fissures, black demonic chi seeping out, as if something extremely evil was breeding. Thunderclouds churned above, lightning flashing, casting a heavy atmosphere over everything. Ancestor Lin Lu raised his right hand, a golden umbrella appearing in his palm. He lifted it, and the golden umbrella flew over his head, swiftly shooting forward. In the blink of an eye, the golden umbrella flew to the most densely concentrated area of demonic chi, hovering 10,000 feet above the ground, near the thunderclouds. Boom! The golden umbrella suddenly opened, spreading golden rays of light, as if an immense power from another dimension shook the very sea of time, dispersing clouds and lightning, transforming the gloomy sky into something majestic and ethereal. Golden light poured down from the umbrella like a torrential rain, landing on the cracked ground, forming inscriptions that expanded rapidly, covering a 1,000-mile radius within 2 breaths and continuing to spread. The golden inscriptions suppressed the demonic chi emerging from the ground fissures. When the inscriptions stopped extending, their edges emitted golden light, shooting into the clouds and forming golden pillars, isolating 10,000 miles around, with the 3 dynasties sects positioned outside the golden barrier. What kind of magic artifact is that? It can form a formation by itself? Indeed powerful, this formation feels stronger than our sect-protecting array. No wonder it's the Holy Land, truly formidable. It seems the Holy Land plans to handle the evil demon alone. We just need to assist. That's good. Who wants to die? Discussions buzzed among the sect disciples, their reverence for the Holy Land rising rapidly. Ji Xianling looked up at the golden umbrella in the sky, uttering 4 words, "Loose immortal Dharma treasure." Ancestor Lin Lu accelerated alone, quickly arriving above a massive black hole. Looking down, he saw it was bottomless, with all the ground fissures extending from this pit. The demonic chi inside pushed against the golden mana, threatening to break through at any moment. 7 stars spirit realm, heh. A chilling voice echoed through the world, heard clearly by all cultivators outside the formation. On the Supreme Sect's side, numerous great cultivators' faces changed dramatically, including LV Beiyin, Ji Hantian, and Ancestor Xianquan. And Hao's eyes widened, his expression incredulous. "Senior Xian? Impossible?" The voice was precisely that of Xian Tianyi. And Hao subconsciously looked toward LV Beiyin. Ever since LV Beiyin discovered the restriction on his back, he had strictly forbidden him from revealing it. LV Beiyin had also promised to handle the matter and never wrong Xian Tianyi. At this moment, LV Beiyin's face was dark. Ignoring in Hao's gaze, he stared intently at the depths of the demon land. "Evil demon, after 10,000 years, you still haven't repented?" Ancestor Lin Lu's voice rang out, calm yet pressing. "Evil demon!" All cultivators tensed, with those from various sects who had met Xian Tianyi furrowing their brows, frequently looking toward the Supreme Sect. Just then, the earth trembled violently. Ancestor Lin Lu remained unfazed. He raised his right hand, strengthening the formation. The demonic chi in the ground fissures grew more potent and frenzied, trying to shatter the golden inscriptions on the surface, as if countless vengeful demons were about to burst from the abyss. Mournful wails echoed throughout the world, sounding like both dragon and phoenix songs, and evil ghosts' howls, making everyone's hair stand on end. Boom! A terrifying force suddenly broke through the surface, shattering the golden inscriptions. Rolling demonic chi surged to the sky, merging with the thunderclouds and sending the golden umbrella flying. Ancestor Lin Lu was caught off guard, forced back by the overwhelming pressure. Stabilizing himself, he frowned, raised his hand, and cast a spell to steady the golden umbrella in the sky, then pulled out a long redwood sword. Hundreds of 7 Stars Spirit Realm cultivators spread out, surrounding the terrifying pillar of demonic qi, each taking out their magic artifacts. Ji Xianling wielded a large fan, with golden flames leaping from its 7 apertures. His gaze noticed a figure rising within the demonic qi pillar, causing his pupils to dilate suddenly. So it's all true. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan dismounted from the blood prison Great Saint's back. Instead of returning to his quarters, he turned and looked north. His brows furrowed, his eyes filled with coldness. His expression quickly changed. He retracted his gaze and prepared to go upstairs. At that moment, a figure flew in from afar. He stopped, turned, and saw Ji Xiaoyu swiftly approaching like a fairy descending from the sky before him. Guan saluted her, smilingly asking, "Third Miss, what brings you here?" Ji Xiaoyu raised her hand, revealing a jade pendant. "Leave this with you. Don't mention it to anyone. I will come back for it later." She tossed it to Guan and then turned to leave as quickly as she came. Guan's divine sense scanned it as he nonchalantly put the jade pendant into his storage bag before turning to go upstairs. The jade pendant contained intelligence about the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Why did Ji Xiaoyu give it to him? Could she have guessed something? Meanwhile, in the demon land, a figure stepped out from the roiling demonic qi. His appearance made Ji Zunling's face turn extremely grim, causing a stir among the Supreme Sect and disbelief in other sections. The figure emerging from the demonic qi was none other than Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi wore a black robe, his white hair fluttering wildly. His handsome face was pale, with deep red eye sockets, and his pupils seemed to swirl with demonic qi, appearing particularly sinister. He twisted his neck, raised his arms, and stretched his body. "Senior Xian." And Hao's voice echoed from afar as he tried to rush into the formation but was stopped. On the Zongtin sect's side, Taoist Lord frowned, calculating with his fingers. Sect Master Liang Zhenghai also frowned deeply, filled with confusion. How could this be? The Taoist of Immortality from 3 Pure Ones Mountain couldn't help but look at Ancestor Lin Lu, his eyes full of meaning. Discussions buzzed among the sects, and soon, Xian Tianyi's identity spread. A Supreme Sect Mahayana realm cultivator had turned into an evil demon? This revelation shocked everyone. Once, during the demonic invasion, Xian Tianyi had achieved great feats, earning the respect of cultivators worldwide. Ancestor Lin Lu stared at the evil demon, speaking coldly, "Evil demon, you dare possess a human Mahayana realm cultivator? You seek death." His voice rumbled like thunder, echoing through the heavens, heard by all. Xian Tianyi turned to him, eyes icy, and sneered, "Noisy." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve at Ancestor Lin Lu, releasing the terrifying power of a 9th-layer loose Immortal, obliterating the golden inscriptions on the ground. Ancestor Lin Lu's spellcasting tried to block it, but he was still forced back. Thousands of miles away, the golden light from the formation was shattered, sending tens of thousands of sect disciples flying, with countless casualties. "You." Ancestor Lin Lu glared at Xian Tianyi, his tone filled with shock and anger. What was happening? Their cultivation? Before he could think further, Xian Tianyi raised his hand, palm facing the sky, with a wild smile on his face. He grabbed with his right hand and yanked downward. The thunderclouds in the sky collapsed instantly, the terrifying pressure causing all cultivators outside the formation to plummet to the ground, and the earth trembled. Chapter 204 Above Loose Immortal. Xian Tianyi merely grabbed out with his hand, but it gave all the cultivators a sense of the sky falling, with the heavens shaking and the earth roaring, reverberating in everyone's ears. The cultivators of the 7-star spirit realm also fought desperately to resist. Although their cultivation was high, it was only impressive compared to the cultivators outside the formation. Before Xian Tianyi, they were insignificant. Rumble, the earth continuously shattered, overwhelming demonic energy surged forth like a volcanic eruption, and countless lightning bolts intertwined like dragons and snakes, converging in the palm of Xian Tianyi's right hand. At this moment, Xian Tianyi's momentum reached its peak, white hair wildly fluttered, a madman expression, as if a demonic god had descended upon the world. Ancestor Lin Lu steadied himself and quickly cast spells with both hands, pushing forward with a palm strike, the mana like a dragon emerging from the abyss, carrying the spiritual energy of the heavens and earth, fire and wind intertwined, sweeping across the shattered earth, heading straight for Xian Tianyi. In the face of this mana, everything in the world seemed insignificant. Xian Tianyi raised his hand. Facing the vast tide of wind and fire, he blocked it with one palm, causing the raging wind and fire to split apart, forming countless fire dragons scattering in all directions. Form the array, exterminate the demon. Ancestor Lin Lu roared angrily, and the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators leaped away, distancing themselves from Xian Tianyi. Suddenly, the rolling dust behind Ancestor Lin Lu was scattered, and Xian Tianyi stepped behind him, standing sideways. Xian Tianyi's eyes were filled with killing intent. With one palm strike, his hand ignited with demonic flames, penetrating Ancestor Lin Lu's chest, splattering blood. Ancestor Lin Lu's eyes widened with a look of shock and anger. Xian Tianyi lifted his arm, following up with a dive, slamming Ancestor Lin Lu, who was impaled on his arm, into the shattered ground. He then began to wildly swing him around, causing the 7-star spirit realm cultivators to panic, and the great cultivators from distant sects were horrified. The evil demon, though not as exaggerated in size as the demon ancestors or great demon kings, exuded an even more intimidating presence. Ancestor Lin Lu transformed into a blood mist. In an instant, his body reappeared dozens of miles away, covered in blood, with his robe tattered, no longer composed as before. Xian Tianyi stepped out from the blood mist. As he looked up, countless sword shadows emitting silver light descended from the sky, engulfing him in an instant, causing dust to rise like a dragon swallowing the sky. Boom! Boom! Countless sword shadows bombarded the ground, causing the entire earth to tremble violently. The ones casting the spells were dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators. They floated high in the sky, each with their treasure sword inverted in front of them, the blades vibrating with a clear and piercing sound. Watching the formidable sword array of the 7-star spirit realm, the cultivators of various sects were elated. They retreated one after another, distancing themselves from the battlefield. The difference in cultivation levels was too great. Even flying was difficult, so they had to expand the encirclement. LV Baitin grabbed and Hao and quickly retreated. "Master, is there no hope?" And Hao looked at LV Baitin, gritting his teeth. Hearing that Xian Tianyi had been possessed, his heart ached terribly. LV Baitin gazed at the chaotic and terrifying battlefield in the distance, speaking in a solemn tone. "The urgent task now is to eliminate the demon." Li Ya and Zhang Buku were also retreating. Their cultivation level was too low. Facing Xian Tianyi's demonic power, they felt suffocated. "Brother Li, there's no way to take advantage of this situation." Zhang Buku whispered urgently. He felt that the Holy Land was not containing the evil demon. Li Ya didn't speak. He was equally nervous. In his eyes, the Holy Land was the most powerful force in the world. With the Holy Land leading the way, their pressure should be less. But once the evil demon appeared, the situation was completely reversed, and even the mighty Holy Land was being suppressed. On the other side, Ancestor Lin Lu flew high into the sky, taking out various magic artifacts. While forming an array, he cast spells to attack Xian Tianyi. "What's going on? He shouldn't be this strong," Ancestor Lin Lu thought fearfully. He could feel that Xian Tianyi was still growing stronger, even challenging a higher realm. The realm above Lu's Immortal. In the 6 Stars Cave, there was only one person in that realm, and that person was not on the continent. After reaching the realm of Immortal Path, most cultivators would not stay on the continent. He usually roamed the oceans and would not have returned if not for the family incident. Before he could think further, a surge of demonic energy burst from beneath the sword array, scattering it. Dozens of 7-star spirit realm sword cultivators spat blood and were sent flying. This demonic energy, like a blade, pierced through the sky, aimed at Ancestor Lin Lu. Too fast. It was so fast that Ancestor Lin Lu couldn't dodge and could only instinctively use mana to defend. Boom! His figure was engulfed by demonic energy, and the clouds in the sky were also pierced. As the demonic energy dissipated, sunlight shone through the gap in the clouds. All of the magic artifacts in front of Ancestor Lin Lu shattered, and though he barely managed to block it, he was covered in blood, looking miserable. He was also at the loose Immortal realm, and at the 8th floor of Cultivation, but before Xiantiani, he was defenseless. Damn it! Ancestor Lin Lu roared, his mana bursting from within, further shattering the ground below. Earth's spirit energy surged up like a celestial screen, covering hundreds of miles, grand and majestic, engulfing his figure. Xiantiani suddenly appeared behind one of the 7-star spirit realm cultivators, grabbing his head. The cultivator's face showed terror. Before he could resist, Xiantiani directly extracted his soul, opening his mouth to forcibly devour it. He then released his right hand, and the soulless cultivator collapsed to the ground. This scene terrified the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators, who fled in panic. Xiantiani immediately disappeared and reappeared behind a female cultivator, grabbing her head and devouring her soul. These Mahayana cultivators had no chance to resist in his presence. Boom! A gust of wind came, and Xiantiani instinctively turned his head. He saw beam after beam of green light phantoms rushing out of the spiritual energy curtain covering half the sky. Each held different forms of magic artifacts, stood 100 feet tall, and looked like celestial soldiers from another world, unstoppable. The Third Medicine Valley. Guan sat at his desk, practicing calligraphy while watching the battle. Possessed by the evil demon, Xiantiani suppressed the 7-star spirit realm alone. That loose Immortal constantly displayed divine skills, shaking the heavens and earth, but was unable to harm Xiantiani. Instead, he watched as Xiantiani continuously devoured souls. Guan sensed that 10 loose Immortals were heading to the battlefield, flying in from the northern coast of the continent with great speed. They should be reinforcements for the 7-star spirit realm. Strange, there is still Xiantiani's soul aura within him. It doesn't seem like possession, but the two are so perfectly integrated, it's as if they were originally one, Guan wondered. He initially planned to act once the evil demon broke free, but he had to wait because of Xiantiani. The 7-star spirit realm intended to use the evil demon to bolster their holy land's prestige while luring Xiantiani into a trap, weakening the Supreme Sect's explicit power and reputation. It was truly sinister. But the evil demon was on the verge of breaking through to Wandering Immortal, which shouldn't have been part of the 7-star spirit realm's plan. Otherwise, Ancestor Lin Lu wouldn't have acted early, forcing the evil demon to break free prematurely. The variable was Xiantiani. Xiantiani seemed to have additional secrets unknown to others. Thinking carefully, Xiantiani's talent didn't seem trainable by the Supreme Sect, and his growth didn't involve training in the 7-star spirit realm but rather heading south instead. In any case, Guan was determined to rescue Xiantiani. Now the 7-star spirit realm found itself in a difficult situation, and it was perfect to use the evil demon to weaken the realm's power and prestige. At the very least, let the other sects know that the 7-star spirit realm was not invincible. Guan's eyes turned subtle when he saw Xiantiani spare Ji Xianling. Besides Ancestor Lin Lu and Ji Xianling, all the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators had their souls devoured, leaving only their shells. Without anyone to restrain him, Ancestor Lin Lu was no match for Xiantiani either. Being in the same realm, it would be difficult for Xiantiani to completely kill Ancestor Lin Lu in a short time. Suddenly, Xiantiani drilled deep into the ground. As soon as he disappeared, the 10 loose Immortals arrived. In the battlefield of the Demon Land, the world turned dark, and the land was buried in overwhelming dust, resembling the early chaos of creation. Ancestor Lin Lu looked around at his fellow disciples and said solemnly, "He's about to break through to Wandering Immortal." Upon hearing these words, the 10 loose Immortals' faces changed dramatically. Without needing further orders, they all plunged into the ground fissures, chasing after Xiantiani. Ancestor Lin Lu took out an elixir and swallowed it, then began cultivating energy midair to heal. His face was grim, filled with fear. The Lin family had already lost startling Immortal Lin, the most talented family member in history, and their plans involving the seven-star spirit realm were nearly exposed. He came this time to redeem himself, but hadn't expected the evil demon to be so powerful. 10,000 years ago, the evil demon had just reached the loose immortal realm. How was he so strong now? Was there another influence behind the evil demon? His first thought was Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao could easily kill a loose immortal and was likely a wandering immortal. The Six Stars Cave had only one wandering immortal, and without knowing Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, they did not dare act rashly. Could Sword Venerable Fudao be someone from a great sect at sea, specifically targeting the seven-star spirit realm? 300 years ago, we shouldn't have let the ephemera sect in. Ancestor Lin Lu hated bitterly. The Six Stars Cave had numerous factions and his family couldn't dominate. But now, the main loss fell on the Lin family. The disciples just devoured, most came from the Lin family, how could he not hate? At the same time, the Supreme Sect and other sects had retreated 10,000 miles away, sensing only 2 auras of seven-star spirit realm cultivators, making them even more afraid. Even the Holy Land can't suppress the evil demon? Without the Holy Land, we would have been dead already. The Holy Land does live up to its name, but its foundation is, could we ultimately rely on Sword Venerable Fudao? I suspect he'll only act when the evil demon reaches the 3 dynasties border. We're truly useless, always troubling him, the cultivators discussed, while the Supreme Sect remained somber. Xian Tianyi being possessed by the evil demon was a huge blow to their morale. LV Baitin looked into the distance, his face dark and eyes flashing. And Hao had calmed down, waiting for the outcome. He hadn't yet connected Xian Tianyi's plight to the Holy Land, only cared for Xian Tianyi's safety. However, it didn't take long before an even more terrifying demonic energy erupted from the ground, startling everyone. Chapter 205. Majestic Divine Might, Wandering Immortal Arrives Rumble. The sky above the Supreme Sect was covered by rolling thunderclouds, as if a storm was about to break. The sky changed so quickly that the disciples who were still busy in the Third Medicine Valley hurried their tasks. Guwen descended from the pavilion, feeling that Xian Tianyi had already half-stepped into the wandering immortal realm, which made him very interested in the sealing ground of the evil demon. What exactly was hidden below? It could actually allow the evil demon to break through in one fell swoop. There must be a secret down below. Could it be that the evil demon also had the ability to evolve lifespan cultivation? Gu An's mind wandered, and he was already prepared to take action. Once Xian Tianyi dealt with the 11 loose immortals of the seven-star spirit realm, he would make his move. He could feel the heavenly might condensing in the sky above the battlefield, signifying that Xian Tianyi was about to face the tribulation. TSK is the tribulation range of a loose immortal this large? Guwen looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and thought silently. This gave him a clearer concept of the celestial tribulation of the immortal path. The tribulation of the evil demon had covered the entire continent, showing just how exaggerated the power of the tribulation was. If the tribulation from loose immortal to wandering immortal was already like this, then what kind of power would the tribulation from wandering immortal to heaven and earth flying immortal be? The aura of a distant loose immortal suddenly disappeared. It seemed he had died at Xian Tianyi's hands. With the first, there would be a second. The successive deaths of 2 loose immortals made Ancestor Lin Lu, who was healing, unable to remain calm. He immediately rushed into the underground to support. Guwen observed the tribulation. He could feel the spiritual power of the 5 elements in the heaven and earth gathering toward the thunderclouds above, rushing toward the crossing site at an extremely fast speed after entering the clouds. The spiritual power of the 5 elements in heaven and earth thus gathered together to accumulate heavenly might. The 3rd loose immortal fell. After devouring the souls of the loose immortals, Xian Tianyi's momentum soared. Vaguely, Guan felt two strands of demonic qi surging within one body. Could it be that Xian Tianyi and the evil demon were vying for control of the body? Guan silently thought, keeping a cautious attitude. If Xian Tianyi's soul was about to collapse, he would immediately take action. For mortals, the distance from the supreme sect to the demon land was a lifelong journey that could never be covered, but for Guan, it only took one step. The disciples in the valley began to gather, discussing what the thunderclouds in the sky portended. Lu Lingjun still stayed within the pavilion, cultivating, seemingly unconcerned about the calamity outside. Since returning, she had been in closed cultivation and had not left the room. Rumble. Watching the lightning and thunder in the sky, the cultivators of the Supreme Sect were extremely tense because they felt they were also within the scope of the celestial tribulation and might be affected. Liang Canghai was decisive and immediately ordered the disciples to retreat. After all, they couldn't help the Seven Stars spirit realm. It was better to preserve themselves. Their presence here was at the call of the Seven Stars spirit realm. Otherwise, the safest option would be to guard the borders of the three dynasties, where they could gather more strength. LV Bain also led the disciples in retreat, and at that moment, Ji Hantian approached him. I suddenly remembered that Xian Tianyi had gone demonic in his youth, Ji Hantian whispered. LV Bain glanced at him, his gaze cold, scaring him into immediate silence. Ji Hantian spoke with some grievance. I thought you two were at odds. So all these years have been an act for me? LV Bain was the sect leader, and he was the vice sect leader. He also had the ambition to be sect leader, but above them was Xian Tianyi, whom many elders supported for the position of sect leader. As such, he naturally harbored no good feelings toward Xian Tianyi. It so happened that LV Bain once found him, complaining about Xian Tianyi, which quickly won his favor. Because of Xian Tianyi, the two formed a better bond. Whenever LV Bain shirked his duties, he would work hard because LV Bain promised that if he stepped down, he would choose him. Of course, all this was about vying for power. On a day-to-day basis, the three of them, as fellow disciples, greeted each other amicably. Talking nonsense, is now the time to discuss this? LV Bain said in a deep voice, cutting off Ji Hantian. Boom! A deafening sound came from behind, startling the two into turning their heads. The distance was too far for them to see what had happened, but the horrifying demonic might of the evil demon made them tremble in fear. At that moment, a disciple cried out, "Look at the sky!" Everyone looked up, astonished to find that the thunderclouds in the sky had reflected a scene of the demon land. Figures moved as swiftly as lightning, dazzling everyone. Those exaggerated spells and divine skills were even more shocking to every cultivator's eyes. Various factions began to slow down, retreating while watching the battle unfold. And Hao, Liya, and Zhang Buku did the same. Zhang Buku's eyes were full of longing. Could he reach such a realm in his lifetime? And Hao's eyes were full of concern and worry. He always believed that there was still hope for Xian Tianyi to break free from the evil demon. Under the watchful eyes of all the cultivators, whenever Xian Tianyi stopped to devour a soul, the scene in the sky would focus on him, zooming in, showing everyone the chilling process of him consuming the souls of the loose immortals. Xian Tianyi's face displayed two different expressions, arrogance and cruelty on the left, frowning and pain on the right. This made him look even more bizarre. Time continued to pass. In the end, only Ancestor Lin Lu remained alive. Seeing the last loose immortal companion's soul drawn out, he completely gave up on resisting. He tried to escape, but Xian Tianyi caught him, and this time, he could not escape Xian Tianyi's grasp. You can't. Ancestor Lin Lu trembled, his primordial spirit unable to leave his body, his physical form unable to use divine skills, and his qi unable to break free from the hand above his head. Sadly, before he could finish his words, he collapsed to the ground. Xian Tianyi swallowed his soul, soared into the sky, sat cross-legged in midair, constantly rising. When he stopped, beneath him was a vast wave of dust like a dragon, seemingly engulfing the entire world. The illusions in the sky continued to expand, eventually covering the entire continent. Wherever there were people or demons, they were frightened, discussing who the figure in the sky was. Transformed into the evil demon, Xian Tianyi deeply imprinted himself in the hearts of all beings. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley discussed in astonishment. Some remembered Xian Tianyi, finding it hard to believe. Guan turned and walked toward the transmission array platform. The blood prison great saint lay on the ground, watching the spectacle. As expected of the great heavenly spirit land. This tribulation is too exaggerated, and this evil demon looks so powerful, the blood prison great saint thought to himself. He was not at all flustered. After all, he was a prisoner. His gaze unconsciously followed Guan, seeing him teleport away. He didn't mind, thinking Guan was going to take care of the Mystic Valley. After arriving at the Mystic Valley, Guan simply inspected it briefly before leaving. As the great battle ended, the only sound left in heaven and earth was thunder. The cultivators of the three dynasties factions all paused. The leaders from each faction gathered to discuss their next move. They could all see that the evil demon was undergoing a tribulation. If the evil demon succeeded in the tribulation, the situation would become even worse. But with the complete annihilation of the seven-star spirit realm, what could they do? Someone complained, "There are so many cultivators in the Holy Land, yet they sent only so few of us here. Isn't this courting death?" Every 100 years, geniuses from various factions would go to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm for cultivation. They knew that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm far exceeded this number of people. Not only was the Seven Stars Spirit Realm sparsely populated, but they even called them to die here. It wasn't just one person, others also resented the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. No matter how nicely the Seven Stars Spirit Realm spoke, these were old monsters who lived for hundreds, even thousands of years, not easily swayed by sweet talk. They judged the Seven Stars Spirit Realm by its actions. Liang Cunghai took a deep breath and said, "All right, now the urgent task is how we might stop the evil demon's tribulation." Everyone fell into silence. The gap in realms was too vast, they had no chance of winning. Taoist Lord suddenly said, "I foresee that the fate of the three dynasties has not yet run out. Perhaps there will be a turn of events. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm, after all, is an ancient holy land. Having lost so many people, they will not let it go easily." As soon as he spoke, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They trusted the Taoist Lord greatly. LV Batian said nothing, his gaze fixed on the illusions in the sky. Time flew by, and those who came to fight felt agony. The people of the three dynasties were even more tense, watching the demon go through the tribulation, guessing what might happen next. Some even prayed for Xian Tianyi to fail the tribulation. And Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, both restoring his spiritual energy and keeping a close watch on the sky. Zhang Buku and Lia did the same, though they were more curious about Xian Tianyi's actual realm, finding the tribulation's momentum excessively exaggerated. On the other side, suspended high in the sky, Xian Tianyi was surrounded by demonic qi. The demonic qi from the underground pierced through the dust of heaven and earth, entering his body, continuously boosting his momentum. "Xian Tianyi, have you forgotten you consider yourself a hero of the righteous path?" A voice rang out in fury and alarm. From the dust wave emerged the disheveled Ji Xianling, shouting angrily at Xian Tianyi. Xian Tianyi's right eye opened, his brow furrowed, half his face showing a struggling expression. At that moment his other eye opened, glancing at Ji Xianling with a gaze full of soul-chilling murderous intent, making Ji Xuanling's heart quake. Xian Tianyi's lips quivered slightly, laboriously uttering two words, "Run away." As soon as he finished speaking, his right eye closed, and his entire face's expression returned to a unified look of cruelty and malevolence. He raised his right hand, aiming at Ji Xianling. Innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation. To think you, fiend, can undergo one of the top 10 tribulations of all time. A voice, like that of a heavenly god, resounded throughout the continent, shaking all beings to their core. Anyone who heard this voice was instinctively filled with awe. Ji Xianling instinctively turned his head, seeing a massive hole suddenly form in the thunderclouds above. A figure shining brightly descended from the sky, pressing the two of them down, scattering the boundless dust waves on the ground. Boom! Xian Tianyi sat on the ground, the ruins within a 100-mile radius collapsing, forming a massive circular pit. A figure descended in front of Xian Tianyi, causing him to look up in fear. For the first time, he showed such an expression. Chapter 206, Domineering. Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling also fell to the ground, but unlike Xian Tianyi, he did not bear the overwhelming pressure that surpassed a loose immortal. After landing, he only staggered a few steps. He quickly raised his eyes to look, his gaze locked on the mysterious figure in front of Xian Tianyi. It was a figure shining with a strong light, and he recognized the identity of the other person at a glance. Cave Master! Ji Xianling exclaimed in surprise. The Cave Master of 6 Stars Cave, Divine Soul True Lord. The Divine Soul True Lord stood tall, draped in a wide, black robe, with white clothes cinched with gold thread underneath, and a jade-adorned green silk belt. His black hair was coiled with 3 small swords. His expression was cold, and he looked down at the seated Xian Tianyi with eyes so frigid they seemed to freeze time. The illusion in the sky mirrored Xian Tianyi's figure while also reflecting the image of the Divine Soul True Lord, allowing everyone in the world to see his true appearance. Even the most esteemed great cultivators instinctively revered the Divine Soul True Lord at first sight. Just by standing there, the Divine Soul True Lord exuded an invincible aura. The people of the world were even more encouraged. The invincible evil demon cowered before the Divine Soul True Lord, all his previously established terrifying aura completely gone, now appearing so weak. Xian Tianyi did not want to stand up, but he simply could not. The gap between a loose immortal and a wandering immortal was as vast as the difference between clouds and mud. Xian Tianyi looked at the Divine Soul True Lord in terror, a look of pleading in his eyes. Thousands of miles away. And Hao looked at the illusion in the sky showing the Divine Soul True Lord and panicked immediately. Under his watchful gaze, the Divine Soul True Lord raised his right hand, and his imposing voice echoed across the entire continent. Today I, the True Lord, will execute the demon for the sake of all living beings. His voice, akin to a god's, reverberated with rolling thunder. No, and Hao shouted with all his might, immediately wanting to leap up to intervene. Almost instantly he felt a tap on his shoulder, causing all his spiritual power to dissipate, rendering him unable to fly up. Jianghu, Liya, and many disciples of the Supreme Sect glimpsed a shadow so fast they thought it was a hallucination. After speaking, the Divine Soul True Lord prepared to finish Xian Tianyi with a single palm strike. Ji Zunling's face changed drastically as he opened his mouth to plead. Suddenly, a hand pressed down on the Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, dispersing the bright light on him, altering his expression and halting his right palm. Xian Tianyi also saw someone suddenly appear behind the Divine Soul True Lord, his expression changing dramatically as he struggled visibly. Ji Xianling gaped in shock, staring at the person behind the Divine Soul True Lord. At this moment, all living beings saw the person behind the Divine Soul True Lord in the sky. In the Third Medicine Valley, Lu Lingjun pushed open the door, just in time to see the illusion in the sky, her expression changing accordingly. Outer Gate City, Heavenly Repair Platform. Standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, Zuijian looked up at the sky and murmured, "Sword Venerable Fudao." In the distance, Di Xia also recognized the mysterious figure, growing nervous immediately. Sword Venerable Fudao was going to confront the 7 Stars Spirit Realm's expert? And Hao, upon seeing Sword Venerable Fudao's figure, became excited, clenching his fists tightly. He thought it was his master who finally came to help him out of reluctance. Liya also became excited, the patriarch had actually come. Jianghu was simply curious about who had suddenly arrived. LV Baidian, looking at the sky, visibly sighed in relief. The leaders of other sects were stunned, not understanding why Sword Venerable Fudao had intervened. In the illusion in the sky, the Divine Soul True Lord slowly lowered his right hand, glancing back and asking, Could it be that you are the sword venerable Fudao who recently made a name for himself throughout the land? Behind him stood a demonic shadow, shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, mysterious and ominous. Guan suddenly pulled him behind and then stepped forward. The divine soul true lord's expression changed dramatically, and his body involuntarily recoiled. Guan stepped forward to stand before Xian Tianyi, extending his right hand, pointing 2 fingers at Xian Tianyi's forehead. The magic of heaven and earth flying immortal erupted, forcibly expelling the demon soul from Xian Tianyi's body, dispersing the demonic qi, making Xian Tianyi grimace in pain. This scene shocked everyone in the world. This wasn't the evil demon? Everyone saw a demonic shadow emerge from Xian Tianyi, identical to his form. Before the evil demon could resist, Guan's right hand opened, swiftly grabbing it and capturing it in his palm. The demonic pressure that shrouded the continent disappeared instantly, leaving everyone feeling inexplicably relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their hearts. You, the divine soul true lord, was enraged. As the cave master of 6 Stars Cave, he naturally knew the evil demon's true origin. Though not personally leading it, he had allowed it. Sword venerable Fudao was slapping him in the face. Guan turned and stood side-on to the divine soul true lord. Xian Tianyi spat out blood, collapsing forward, his forehead landing on Guan's thigh. Before closing his eyes, he weakly uttered, "Fudao." He collapsed by Guan's leg, his consciousness plunging into darkness. Sword venerable Fudao made no sound, allowing him to lie there, calmly staring at the divine soul true lord. The people of the world held their breaths. Everyone could feel the standoff between the divine soul true lord and sword venerable Fudao, recognizing that sword venerable Fudao had come to save the one possessed by the evil demon. More accurately, to save the one possessed by the evil demon. The world fell silent. Even the great cultivators near Demon Land were incredibly tense, not daring to breathe loudly. Blood Prison Great Saint, lying on the ground, looked at Guan's figure, eyes full of admiration. Such domination! Without saying a word, everyone could feel his strong intent. Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his past self was incredibly weak. Always boasting, but compared to the great cultivator of the upper realm, his spirit fell short by miles. Not just him, everyone else felt the divine soul true lord had fallen to a lower position. This mysterious figure effortlessly pulled the divine soul true lord away and scared him into inaction. Their abilities were clearly unmatched. Ji Xianling, closest to them, was utterly shocked. He knew better than anyone the power of the divine soul true lord. In the 7-star spirit realm, centered around 6 Stars Cave, the divine soul true lord was as divine as an immortal to them, representing the continent's strongest being. Such an existence was easily pulled away by sword venerable Fudao? Ji Xianling finally understood why the 7-star spirit realm had suddenly changed their mind and decided to come forth to save the people. They feared sword venerable Fudao and wanted to restore their image. The divine soul true lord's face was extremely grim, caught in an inner struggle between choices. He had intended to use the anomaly of this innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation to showcase his grand and heroic image of saving all living beings. But now, he found himself in a difficult position. If he acted, he couldn't be sure of winning, plus what would the world think of him? If he didn't act, how would the world view the 7-star spirit realm? Who exactly are you? Do not say you're from the Supreme Sect. This land could not possibly spawn someone as powerful as you. The divine soul true lord asked solemnly, this time, not letting his voice echo across the continent, only audible to himself, Guan and Ji Xianling. Guan did not answer him but raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at his face. Somehow, facing Guan's fingertip, the divine soul true lord felt fear. Too overbearing. The other party didn't want to converse, only conveying one message, for him to back off. Otherwise, the divine soul true lord realized that, given the unmatched power of the other party, he might very well die. He was, after all, a wandering immortal. Not only on this continent but across the nearby sea areas, his cultivation level was among the top. In an instant, many thoughts crossed the divine soul true lord's mind. Finally, he coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared within a few steps. He left gracefully, yet in the people's eyes, it was a stance of fear, no matter how upright his posture was. The reason Guan didn't kill the divine soul true lord was that the world was watching, and a public execution would not be good. Firstly, because the seven-star spirit realm was a holy land here to save the world, and secondly, to avoid drawing other great cultivators from the star caves. However, sometimes, not killing had a greater deterrent effect than killing. Not killing could both instill fear and leave room for the opponent to fantasize. Killing meant a never-ending vendetta. Guan looked up. The celestial might was dispersing. With the evil demon gone and unable to cross the tribulation, the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't continue. He then vanished from the spot. Xian Tianyi, leaning against Guan's leg, fell forward, and Ji Xianling appeared out of thin air, catching him before his forehead hit the ground. Seeing this, LV Baiyin immediately called for Supreme Sect disciples to follow him to rescue. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators flew up all at once, fearless, every one of them with excitement written on their faces. With Sword Venerable Fudao present, what did they have to fear? Leaders from other sects exchanged glances. The situation had exceeded their expectations, too much information challenging their understanding. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, "The three dynasties advance and retreat together." With that, he immediately flew towards Zhangtian sect. Other sect leaders snapped out of it and went to give orders. Winning over Sword Venerable Fudao had become their most important task in years. The recent confrontation only solidified this belief. Sword Venerable Fudao turned out to be stronger than the Holy Land. In the Third Medicine Valley, Lu Lingjun watched as the illusions in the sky gradually dispersed, pulling her thoughts back to reality. Instinctively, she wanted to find Guan to discuss her observations from the battle but realized his presence was not in the valley. She unconsciously scanned Mystic Valley with her divine sense, finding Guan among the mountain woods nearby, inspecting medicinal herbs, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a helpless smile. Such a great spectacle ignored, all he worried about were his plants. Truly hopeless. Elsewhere, in the inner sect city, Ji Xiaoyu stood on the eaves, glancing up at the sky. Even as the illusion started to fade, she did not avert her gaze. She hadn't seen the divine soul true lord before but could feel his high status within the seven stars spirit realm. Such a powerful being was forced to retreat by Sword Venerable Fudao. Her eyes filled with complexity. Sword Venerable Fudao, who exactly are you? After this battle, she guessed the seven-star spirit realm would have to humble themselves. Before Sword Venerable Fudao came along, the seven-star spirit realm wouldn't dare to commit blatant evil, let alone now. However, the seven-star spirit realm would surely frantically investigate Sword Venerable Fudao, and the Ji family from the Supreme Sect would become their tool. Patriarch, was this outcome within your expectation? Ji Xiaoyu's lips curled into a smile as she turned to leave. Just as she turned, the inner sect city erupted in thunderous cheers. One city was but a microcosm of the world. The entire world erupted into a feverish celebration. Chapter 207. Like Pan and over the ocean, Divine Soul True Lord sat on a huge gourd, his arms crossed in front of his chest as the sea breeze blew his hair. He closed his eyes, frowning deeply. The more he thought, the angrier and more restless he became. After this battle, the prestige of the Holy Land would surely plummet. How could he not be angry? He just couldn't judge Sword Venerable Fudao's attitude towards the seven-star spiritual realm. For now, Sword Venerable Fudao did not seem hostile towards the seven-star spiritual realm. The previous Lin Jingxian killed himself, and Ji Xianling went to the Supreme Sect without incident. This time was no different. Sword Venerable Fudao only pushed him back and did not strike a killing blow. He couldn't tell if Sword Venerable Fudao feared the seven-star spiritual realm or had no killing intent from the start. In fact, when the evil demon attacked the wandering immortal realm, Divine Soul True Lord had sensed it but deliberately did not intervene. He allowed the Lin family loose Immortal and disciples to be devoured by the evil demon to create a more terrifying image of the evil demon. The stronger the evil demon, the more prestige he would gain by exterminating it. Secondly, he wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate the Lin family, thus removing the cause and effect of offending Sword Venerable Fudao. Had he succeeded, the 7-star spiritual realm would have maintained the prestige of the Holy Land while resolving any grudges with Sword Venerable Fudao, achieving a perfect outcome. But things went wrong. Sword Venerable Fudao acted ahead of schedule. It seems Sword Venerable Fudao is related to Xiantiani. Could he be from the Star Sea congregations? The more he thought about it, the more likely Divine Soul True Lord found this possibility. Before Xiantiani joined the Star Sea congregations, the Supreme Sect did not have such a great cultivator. He speculated that Xiantiani, knowing the demon disaster was imminent, had asked Sword Venerable Fudao for support in advance. That's right. It must be so. Divine Soul True Lord had heard that Xiantiani wrote a book entitled The Legend of Sword Venerable. He raised his right hand and took out a token, hesitating for a moment before probing it with his divine sense. Soon, he sensed a wave of divine sense from the token, and began to relay what had happened, along with his speculations. After a while, his face turned grim as he was obviously reprimanded. In the forest of Mystic Valley, Gu-in silently pondered. Ever since Divine Soul True Lord had left, his divine sense had been following him, preventing any unforeseen events. Seeing Divine Soul True Lord take out the token, Gu-in could guess he was contacting someone more powerful from the 7-star spiritual realm. Once Divine Soul True Lord placed the token back into his storage ring, Gu-in exhaled a long breath, his eyes growing cold. Judging by his expression, Gu-in hesitated. The lifespan foresight could only determine whether others had ill intentions towards his true form, while the 9 extremes yin-yang body could conceal his true form and obscure karmic calculations unless the other person linked Sword Venerable Fudao directly to his true form and harbored enmity. The mountain god's little figure had resembled Gu-in's true form closely, without any divine skills to cloak it, which was why he could sense it. And the hateful heaven ancestor had discovered him directly through sword intent. After 30 minutes, Divine Soul True Lord landed on an island. As he entered a cave, Gu-in sensed a restriction and stopped following. Just remember this island. Gu-in stood up and walked back to Mystic Valley. The disciples in the valley were still excitedly discussing the sky illusion they had witnessed earlier, the image of Sword Venerable Fudao deeply ingraining in their minds. They also believed that the entity confronting Divine Soul True Lord was indeed Sword Venerable Fudao. Gu-in joined them, chatting for a while. The impact of this battle was even greater than when Sword Venerable Fudao killed the demon ancestor, not only because peace prevailed after defeating the evil demon, but also because it involved the Holy Land. When Gu-in returned to the 3rd Medicine Valley, the disciples were gathered noisily, like in a busy market. Lu Lingjun, who had been waiting for him, pulled him into a pavilion, excitedly talking about Sword Venerable Fudao. Seeing her admire Sword Venerable Fudao so much filled Gu-in with satisfaction. He had to feign excitement and reciprocate the emotional value. For the next month, the Supreme Sect was in constant uproar, everyone full of excitement, various news spreading wildly within the sect. Gu-in went to the Outer Gate City twice, each time staying for 2 ancient hours, listening to the disciples on the streets praise Sword Venerable Fudao. It was worth noting that within this month, Gu-in noticed more cultivators arriving from the sea, some even in the realm of Immortal path, spreading throughout the Immortal cultivation world, gathering intelligence on the 7-star spiritual realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. Gu-in suspected they might be from another great power. He thought of hateful heaven ancestors' foes from the Star Sea congregations. The Star Sea congregations was a colossal power at sea. At least in hateful heaven ancestors' mind, the Star Sea congregations were on par with the 7-star spiritual realm. Could the Star Sea congregations be preparing to strike at the 7-star spiritual realm? Although Gu-in let his imagination run wild, he remained calm, continuing his peaceful farming life. After all, no one knew that he was Sword Venerable Fudao. After the winter snow fell, the cultivators who had fought the evil demon began returning to the supreme sect. It was worth mentioning that Li Ya and Zhang Buku also returned. Sensing their auras flying towards Mystic Valley, Gu En awaited them in advance. The two still shared the North Sea heavy sword. Zhang Buku, looking at the forest covered in snow, appeared nervous. He was returning to the Medicine Valley where his father used to live, eager to see martial Uncle Gu again. The more Zhang Buku thought about it, the more nervous he became. Li Ya reminded him not to mention their injuries to Guan and to speak based on Gu An's reactions. Zhang Buku felt helpless but could only agree. After a short while, Li Ya and Zhang Buku flew into Mystic Valley. Their arrival drew the attention of the servant disciples. "Senior brother Li." Lu Jiujia walked over excitedly, full of surprise. Of all those who had left Mystic Valley, who was the most formidable? Naturally, it was Li Ya. Despite losing miserably to An Hao and missing the golden list because of it, Li Ya's strength had earned the Supreme Sect's recognition, making him Mystic Valley's pride. Li Ya looked at Lu Jiujia, knowing he was Gu An's junior brother. He nodded slightly and said, "I am here to see your senior brother." Before Lu Jiujia could reply, a voice floated down from the pavilion. "Senior brother, Buku, come up." Hearing Gu An's voice, Zhang Buku became excited. Li Ya glanced at him and then led him upstairs. Watching Li Ya's confident back, Lu Jiujia's eyes were full of envy. Li Ya lived the life he desired. Soon, Li Ya and Zhang Buku reached the upper floor and entered the room. Zhang Buku, seeing Guan, became so excited that he knelt down immediately. Li Ya hurriedly closed the door in fright. If word got out about his closest brother kneeling to his junior brother, it would be a scandal. "What are you doing? Get up quickly." Guan, sitting at the desk, said helplessly. Li Ya immediately pulled Zhang Buku up, glaring at him for losing face. Zhang Buku ignored Li Ya and looked at Guan with a silly grin. Guan gestured for them to sit and then got up to pour them tea. "Senior brother Li, how have you been these years?" Guan asked warmly. Li Ya immediately started boasting about his encounters and his progress in cultivation. Throughout the conversation, Zhang Buku hesitated to speak. Guan placed 2 cups of tea before them. Zhang Buku wanted to stand and bow, but Guan stopped him with a look. Seeing Gu En's one glance making Zhang Buku obedient, Li Ya felt a pang of jealousy amidst his storytelling. "By the way, junior brother Gu, when did you descend the mountain without telling me? If I had known you were visiting senior brother Zhang, I definitely would have gone too." Li Ya suddenly recalled, asking sternly. Guan rolled his eyes at him and said, "At that time, Buku was still a minor. Could you have come with me? You were focused on proving yourself." Li Ya heard this and gave an embarrassed smile. His relationship with Zhang Chuanqiu was average. Even if he had free time, he wouldn't have gone unless Guan insisted. Guan turned to Zhang Buku and asked, "How has it been following senior brother Li? Any injuries?" Zhang Buku was about to speak when Li Ya interrupted. "How could you get injured following me? These years, we've been a great team, having everything we wanted, and our cultivation has advanced rapidly." Seeing this, Zhang Buku could only nod. Then Li Ya shifted the topic to Sword Venerable Fudao, instantly changing the subject. Zhang Buku, who admired Sword Venerable Fudao, couldn't stop talking. Guan smiled at them, occasionally chiming in. Did Li Ya really take him for the primordial ancestor? The proud look on his face made Guan want to laugh. As for Zhang Buku, although excited, he wasn't as exaggerated as Li Ya. Hearing Guan praise Sword Venerable Fudao made Li Ya feel greatly satisfied. He wanted to tell Guan that Sword Venerable Fudao was their Li family primordial ancestor. But recalling the primordial ancestor's instructions, he could only hold back. He hadn't encountered the primordial ancestor in a long time. What was the primordial ancestor doing? Was he busy teaching An Hao? On the way back, Li Ya had communicated with An Hao, and compared to An Hao's progress, his achievements over the years were negligible. Once again he felt sour. The primordial ancestor favored An Hao for his talent, but guided him out of blood and kinship. Guan didn't know what Li Yo was thinking but felt his mood suddenly drop. He didn't want to inquire and took the chance to focus on Zhang Buku, feeling slightly irritated by Li Ya's hogging of the conversation earlier. Bullying my nephew? I'm fine. Brother Li treats me well, really. One sentence from Zhang Buku caused Li Ya's blood pressure to soar. Guan, smirking, asked, Brother Li? Yes, we are sworn brothers, promising to live and die together. Zhang Buku said stoutly. He could help Li Ya hide some things, but not let him gain seniority. Li Ya's expression turned awkward. His gaze fell on the paper in front of Guan. Seizing the moment, he picked it up and asked abruptly, Junior brother Gu, what are you writing? Guan smiled and replied, a book called Journey to the West. Journey to the West? Never heard of it. Just started writing it. All right then, I wish you to become a famed writer like Panin. Li Ya skimmed a few lines before putting it back, mainly using it to divert the conversation. He didn't really care about Journey to the West. Zhu Beiji carrying his wife? What nonsense. This book seemed boring at first glance. Chapter 208 Hostility from the Divine Soul True Lord. When Li Ya put down the paper, the conversation unconsciously turned back to Sword Venerable Fudao, as if they could talk about him endlessly. Zhang Buku said that earlier, when Sword Venerable Fudao made his move, he saw a blurred figure, suspecting it was Sword Venerable Fudao, who passed right in front of them. Li Ya also said he saw it, and the two were quite convinced. Guan found it amusing. He had deliberately let An Hao and the other two see him, accurately speaking, let the cultivators from the Supreme Sect notice that he was coming from there. With the limitless freedom step, Guan could move beside Divine Soul True Lord in one step. The three chatted for another ancient hour before Li Ya and Zhang Buku bade farewell. Li Ya was preparing to bring Zhang Buku into the sect, and there were many things to be busy with, so Guan naturally did not keep them. Watching them disappear into the heavy snow, Guan stood there for a while before entering the house. At the end of the year, as the spring festival approached, since the human race had completely overcome the demon calamity, it seemed peaceful days were ahead, so LV Baixia ordered an extravagant spring festival celebration this year. Before the spring festival even arrived, each city began preparations, and this atmosphere also affected Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. To welcome the new era, LV Bayin issued various decrees, raising the treatment of every level of disciple, down to even the servant disciples, making the entire sect jubilant. Riding the blood prison Great Saint, Guan strolled through the outer gate city. He could sense many people hiding their cultivation levels in the city, with more than 20 mystic heart realm cultivators, 3 Mahayana realm, and 1 in the Nirvana realm. These people were all from overseas, and in the past year they had been gathering various intelligence, mainly about the views of Supreme Sect cultivators on the Holy Land 7 Stars Spirit Realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. They did not affect Guan, so he could not be bothered with them. Along the way, Guan met many old acquaintances, some who graduated from Medicine Valley, and some fellow disciples he met at the Book Collection Hall and Elixir Hall. Engaging in small talk, he did not feel bored, but rather found it interesting. Listening to friends' current endeavors in Immortal cultivation also broadened his experience. The spring festival atmosphere enveloped every street, even the blood prison Great Saint looked around curiously. Unknowingly, Guan arrived at the Heavenly Repair Platform again. The vast Heavenly Repair Platform was crowded and noisy, with many outer disciples standing guard around the edges. He had ordered Supreme Sect spies to investigate all of Xian Tiany's relationships, and the scroll in his hand recorded everyone closely related to Xian Tiany. The rising power of the evil demon was likely related to Xian Tiany, and Sword Venerable Fudao intervened to save him. No matter how he thought about it, Divine Soul True Lord blamed Xian Tiany for the failure in the battle against the evil demon. So he developed a murderous intent towards Xian Tiany and his close associates. But he dared not act rashly, for perhaps Sword Venerable Fudao was among them in disguise. The mere thought of Sword Venerable Fudao made Divine Soul True Lord feel troubled. Fortunately, the 3-star cave had not contacted him much over these years, or he really wouldn't know how to report back. Sigh. Divine Soul True Lord sighed, stood up, and prepared to head to the small spirit realm to seclude himself. The 7 stars spirit realm needed to maintain its image and avoid being discovered by nearby great powers. As the high-standing cave master, he only needed to issue orders and would not personally manage things. He took 2 steps forward, just about to descend the steps. A hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Although it was just a light tap, his heart stopped. He couldn't forget the feeling of being tapped on the shoulder by Sword Venerable Fudao. Fear instinctively arose in his heart, and as he was about to speak, an overwhelming mana surged into his body, instantly turning his flesh into ashes, and even his primordial spirit vanished. The gap between the 9th layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and the 3rd layer of the wandering immortal realm was immense. In front of Guwen, Divine Soul True Lord was no different from an ant. The scroll in Divine Soul True Lord's hand also turned to ashes along with him. Guwen, who had performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body technique, vanished as if he had never appeared. He quickly returned to the Supreme Sect, emerging from the bushes and walking towards the Blood Prison Great Saint. He had been out of the Blood Prison Great Saint's sight for less than 10 breaths. With its cultivation sealed, the Blood Prison Great Saint had no idea what he had done and immediately stood up after seeing him return. Guwen hung the wildflowers he had casually picked on the Blood Prison Great Saint's horns and directed it towards Mystic Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint did not think much and carried Guwen away. At this moment, Guwen appeared calm, but his heart was far from at peace. He looked again at the prompt. Killing Divine Soul True Lord had given him 10,500 years of life. The wandering immortal realm was indeed formidable, no longer akin to weeds. When he killed Divine Soul True Lord, Guwen did not even dare to perform a soul search, as Divine Soul True Lord surely knew many high realm immortals, and he feared that soul searching might alert those powerful beings. Guwen responded affirmatively, making Hu Shaojian even more excited. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, under Hu Xiaojian's guidance, Guwen arrived at a large hall where most of the cultivators coming and going were in the Mahayana realm or Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm cultivators were likely outsiders like Guwen, while the Mahayana realm cultivators belonged to the Sea Protection Mansion. As for loose immortals, they were rare to encounter. Hu Shaojian approached an elderly man and explained Guwen's intention. The elder immediately stood up and led the two to a side hall. Chu Feng, Nirvana Realm, 5th layer 3860/15,000/17,000. Guwen silently noted this information, then followed Chu Feng. Chu Feng took a white jade token, uninscribed, from a redwood cabinet, handed it to Guwen and said, "Inject your mana into this, then silently recite your name to register." Guwen took the white jade token, adjusted his cultivation level, and injected his mana. After a few breaths, he raised the identity token to show Chu Feng. Meng Lang, Loose Immortal Realm, 6th layer. Chu Feng read aloud, then quickly raised his hand in salute, respectfully addressing him as senior. Hu Shaojian was even more excited, also saluting. Guwen put away the identity token and casually asked, "I heard there are many benefits to a high-rank identity token?" Chu Feng nodded and respectfully introduced the benefits of a high-rank identity token. Tax transaction discounts, permanent cave residence, allocation of 5 servants, and more. Guwen was very pleased with what he heard and ultimately decided to have Hu Shaojian lead the way, making Hu Shaojian feel flattered while Chu Feng smiled and encouraged Hu Shaojian. Thus, Guwen began his procurement journey on Immortal Seeking Island. First, he had to exchange for spirit stones. It was worth mentioning that on Immortal Seeking Island, the basic currency was a top-grade spirit stone. Low-grade and mid-grade spirit stones were not allowed here. Low-rank cultivators did not even have the qualification to enter the island, a harsh reality. But on second thought, who below the nascent soul realm could cross the ocean to reach Immortal Seeking Island? Immortal Seeking Island was surrounded by millions of miles of sea, with no other islands around. As for the mainland, it was even farther away. To Hu Shaojian, the seven-star spirit realm was a distant power. He had heard most about the Star Sea congregations, the overlords of the ocean. In the evening, Guwen returned to Mystic Valley. Purchasing medicinal herbs took time, not a one-time deal. However, Immortal Seeking Island had plenty of high-rank medicinal herbs, even offering 9th-rank medicinal herbs, enough to meet Guwen's needs. It was said that every few decades, Immortal Path Spirit trees might even be auctioned on Immortal Seeking Island. After greeting the disciples in the valley, he went upstairs. His surface cultivation level needed to be improved. One day at noon, Shen Tianyi came to visit Guwen. As they entered the house to chat, Shen Tianyi cast many restrictions first. He was now the strongest cultivator in the Supreme Sect but still deployed many restrictions, indicating his awareness of several great cultivators infiltrating the Supreme Sect. Did you see the celestial phenomenon from that battle? Shen Tianyi turned to Guwen and asked solemnly. Guwen nodded, then motioned for him to sit and talk. Bam! Shen Tianyi slammed the table in fury, cursing, "I was schemed against by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. A bunch of bastards. This isn't over." Guwen's eyelids twitched. "Why are you telling me this?" He suddenly suspected that the Divine Soul True Lord's hostility towards him a few months ago was due to investigating Shen Tianyi's connections. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm? Are you talking about the Holy Land? Guwen asked cautiously. Shen Tianyi sat down, took a deep breath, and said, "Yes, I was thrown into the evil demon's sealing ground by cultivators from the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. If not for Sword Venerable Fudeo's intervention, they would have wanted to eliminate me completely. How hateful! Divine Soul True Lord, just you wait." Guwen said worriedly, "The Holy Land is powerful. You mustn't be reckless. Even the entire Supreme Sect wouldn't be enough." Shen Tianyi looked at him and snorted, "I know that, but I'm not just a disciple of the Supreme Sect. I'm also a disciple of the Star Sea congregations. My peers have already infiltrated the Supreme Sect. I'm planning to head south and inform my master about this. The Star Sea congregations and the Seven Stars Spirit Realm both follow the righteous path and do not harm the common people. I will ensure the Seven Stars Spirit Realm doesn't have it easy." "How bold. You have a backer, and you didn't say so earlier? Forcing me to take risks?" Guwen complained inwardly, feeling helpless. Shen Tianyi, seeing through his thoughts, said with a hint of regret, "After all, it is the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Without a legitimate reason, the Star Sea congregations would not act. I don't have that kind of influence, but if I had evidence, it would be different. Anyway, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm won't have a good time coming." Guwen cautioned him, "Though I don't know how powerful the Star Sea congregations are, be careful. The journey south is long. If anything happens on the way," he didn't finish his sentence, but Shen Tianyi understood. "No worries. I will be accompanied by other disciples of the Star Sea congregations, and there will be Immortal Path seniors overseeing from abroad. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm won't dare to act rashly." Shen Tianyi reassured him. Guwen felt relieved. Shen Tianyi then said, "You focus on your cultivation. Someday, it'll take you into the Star Sea congregations. You might gain immortal destiny." Guwen shook his head. "Forget it. The ocean is a place for the high and mighty. As a mere mortal, I'll stay in the Supreme Sect. I don't want to be a burden." Shen Tianyi tried to persuade him further but was diverted by Guwen, who asked him when he would return. Shen Tianyi said it depended on the situation, ranging from a few years to several decades. But he would definitely return, as his next goal was to help develop the Supreme Sect. Although he was angry, he saw this as an opportunity. If the Star Sea congregations pressured the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, the Supreme Sect could develop. Even though he now belonged to the Star Sea congregations, he wanted to help the Supreme Sect. In any case, he believed that no matter how the Supreme Sect developed, it could never catch up to the Star Sea congregations. He felt there would be some excitement to watch today. The city was bustling with people, cultivators coming and going ceaselessly, very lively, almost like celebrating the spring festival. Gu saw many cultivators in strange costumes, and even shape-shifting demons. Now, the Supreme Sect had begun recruiting demon clan disciples, with great results. Each year, around 10,000 shape-shifting demons would come to apprentice. The main character in Journey to the West being a demon had made the entire demon community more favorable towards the Supreme Sect. Arriving at the surroundings of the heavenly repair platform, the blood prison great saint halted. He heard people around talking. "Have you read Journey to the West? The book collection hall put up another batch yesterday, and I managed to get a copy." "Then lend it to me. I read an unofficial version that doesn't contain Pan N's handwriting." Recently, more and more people have been challenging the heaven-cutting axe. They say that whoever can lift the heaven-cutting axe can secure the top spot in the first Under Heaven's Cultivation level tournament. You're joking. Even the champion can't possibly lift the heaven-cutting axe. Some were talking about Journey to the West, some about Sword Venerable Fudao, but most were discussing the first Under Heaven's Cultivation level tournament. Gu silently counted down. After a while, he thought to himself, here it comes. A dominating aura enveloped the heavenly repair platform, followed by a loud voice that echoed throughout the city. "I am the foremost cultivator of Wuxia, Xiao Dai. All of you move aside. I want to challenge the heaven-cutting axe." Boom! The entire city trembled. Everyone looked towards the sky above the heavenly repair platform and saw a majestic figure floating in the air. It was a man in a yellow robe, wearing a golden crown and a python belt, with an aura like a swirling dragon around him. Gu cast a lifespan detection spell on him. Xiao Dai, Mahayana Realm 9th Layer 898/8900/8900, an extreme lifespan of 8,900 years. Among Nirvana dead, he was second only to Hao and the Blood Prison Great Saint, even surpassing Xian Tianyi. Gu could feel that this person contained chi blood beyond the Mahayana realm. Of course, it was only beyond. Reaching the Nirvana realm was impossible. The weakest in the Nirvana realm was stronger than the strongest in the Mahayana realm. This was the barrier between the mortal and the immortal. People around the heaven-cutting axe gave way, and Xiao Dai descended. Many were discussing where Lingxia was. Gu knew about Lingxia. It was the dynasty in the far north of the continent, created by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Everyone in that dynasty was a descendant of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm cultivators. But the territories of the three dynasties hadn't interacted with Lingxia yet. Zuijin stood beside the heaven-cutting axe, eyeing Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai exuded an emperor's aura, and with each step, a dragon's roar accompanied him, which made Zuijin secretly marvel. When he reached the heaven-cutting axe, Xiao Dai didn't try to lift it immediately. Instead, he looked at Zuijin and said, "Move away, so you don't get hurt." Zuijin was instantly infuriated, crumpling the Journey to the West in his hand. An elder in the Unification realm appeared out of thin air and said, "Listen to him, everyone back off." Upon hearing this, Zuijin reluctantly retreated. The cultivators meditating around the righteous words also got up, including Di Xie. Jihan Tian appeared among the crowd, watching Xiao Dai with solemn eyes. The Ji family had close ties with the Seven-Star Spirit Realm, and he had met Xiao Dai in the Seven-Star Spirit Realm. At that time, he was still young, and Xiao Dai was already the most famous genius in the Seven-Star Spirit Realm. Though most of the Ji family had joined the Seven-Star Spirit Realm, Jihan Tian had a strong aversion to it, which made him dislike Xiao Dai. He couldn't help but say, "Without immortal path cultivation, don't dream of challenging." Chapter 212 Strange Aura. After brushing past the Nine-Finger Divine Lord, Gu quickly left Immortal Seeking Island. Although the nine-fingered Divine Lord couldn't threaten him at the moment, his age of 170,000 years made Guwen reluctant to associate with him. Guwen had no need to make connections with great powers. He just wanted to avoid trouble. After returning to the Supreme Sect, he went to watch the first Cultivation conference every few days and found it quite interesting. The Supreme Sect created different treasures according to different realms, and it was said that the materials were brought from overseas by Shen Tianyi. The heaviest was a Mahayana realm treasure, heavier than a mountain. Because of this, the Supreme Sect also specially opened a venue and set up layers of restrictions to prevent the ground from collapsing. Since there was no combat, the first Cultivation conference didn't last as long as previous events. In less than half a month, Qiao Dai won the first place and was conferred the title of Great Sage of the Heavenly Peak by the Supreme Sect. Afterwards, Qiao Dai announced his decision to join the Supreme Sect and become an elder, which took Guwen by surprise. What is the Seven Stars Spirit Realm up to? Sending a Mahayana realm cultivator to the Supreme Sect for no reason? Or are they planting a pawn? Guwen didn't ask LV Baitin. Even if Qiao Dai had bad intentions, he wasn't afraid. It only took one move to kill the Divine Soul True Lord, and it would be the same for Qiao Dai. However, after autumn arrived, Ji Hantian brought Qiao Dai to find Guwen, who happened to be in, so he received them in his building. Qiao Dai sat at the table, looked around the environment and asked, "Are you Panin?" Guwen, carrying a cup of tea to the table, responded, "I am Pan and may I ask what business you have with me, senior?" The Ji family had switched allegiance to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, and now Ji Hantian brought Qiao Dai to find him, which made him think deeply. "Sit down and talk," Ji Hantian said with a warm smile, even taking the initiative to pour tea for the two of them. Guwen sat down and looked at Qiao Dai. Qiao Dai scrutinized him with an oppressive gaze. "What do you think of the Holy Land, Seven Stars Spirit Realm?" Qiao Dai asked. Guwen was stunned and replied, "The Seven Stars Spirit Realm is called a holy land. Naturally, I respect it. Why do you ask me this?" Qiao Dai said, "Is Master Beauty from the Oblique Moon 3 Stars Cave in your writing meant to pay homage to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm?" Master Beauty was the teacher of Sun Wukong, the protagonist of Journey to the West. Ever since Journey to the West became a hit, Master Beauty was often mentioned. Some even firmly believed that the Oblique Moon 3 Stars Cave, the Spirit Platform, and Square Inch Hill truly existed. Guwen nodded. Since the Ji family had turned to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, and Qiao Dai came from the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, Guwen naturally had to go along with their thoughts. If these two still had doubts about him, he could only have Sword Venerable Fudao take action. Seeing Guwen nod, Qiao Dai didn't seem pleased. Instead, he frowned and said, "Actually, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm is not as good as you think." Upon hearing this, Guwen looked at him in amazement. What does this mean? Could it be that Qiao Dai harbored enmity toward the Seven Stars Spirit Realm? Ji Hantian chimed in. The previous great calamity of demons is related to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. We sought you out because we feared you esteemed the Seven Stars Spirit Realm too much, and there are some things we need to tell you. Without waiting for Guwen to respond, Ji Hantian explained the origins of the demon ancestor and evil demon, leaving Guwen dumbfounded. Guwen actually knew this long ago but had to act surprised while contemplating their intentions. After Ji Hantian finished, Qiao Dai said, "The actions of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm disgust me deeply. Ever since I embarked on the Immortal cultivation path, I wanted to be an immortal who saves the world. That was also why I chose to join the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. But a friend of mine exposed the crimes of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. He came from the Lin family, whose ancestor was slain by Sword Venerable Fudao after attacking the Supreme Sect. Later, during the siege of the evil demon, the Lin family suffered heavy losses. Taking advantage of this, their adversaries within the Seven Stars Spirit Realm sought to exterminate them. Before fleeing, my friend left me a letter exposing the general misdeeds committed by the high-ups of the Six Stars Cave against the Lin family. It took me years to fully accept these facts." Guwen felt a sigh of lament at hearing that the Lin family had been abandoned by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Of course, the Lin family's annihilation was not undeserved, Just infighting among dogs. Gu furrowed his brow and said, I am merely a minor cultivator in the Foundation establishment realm. Why are you telling me this? I cannot help you. Don't think of using Pan Ennis' name to expose the Holy Land. I cannot afford to provoke them. Ji Hantian smiled. Rest assured, we are not that reckless. The 7 Stars Spirit Realm is currently too powerful, and even the combined forces of the 3 dynasties can't shake it. We just hope you won't exalt the 7 Stars Spirit Realm in your books in the future. Xiao Dai nodded and said, Exactly. Your influence is truly great. I used to disdain it until I read your Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West, only then realizing your prowess. However, I liked your Supreme Immortal Venerable the most. The story of a comeback is more captivating. So that's what it's about. Guan found it both laughable and exasperating. It was just a coincidence. In fact, he was subtly hinting that the 7 Stars Spirit Realm resembled the Buddhism sect of Western Heaven. He pretended to contemplate and then reluctantly agreed to the matter. Seeing Guan seemingly hesitant, Ji Hantian and Xiao Dai didn't get angry. They too took a long time to process this information when they first learned about it. Not only did they have to expose the evil side of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, but they also had to endure the pressure of confronting it directly. This was, after all, the most powerful force on the continent, with no equal. Guan couldn't help but ask, if the 7 Stars Spirit Realm wishes to enslave all beings, why engage in such roundabout methods? Even the combined forces of our 3 dynasties are no match for them, right? Xiao Dai replied, not all of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm is evil. On the ocean, it remains a holy land of the righteous path. Our continent is merely one region of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, governed by the 6 Stars Cave and 7 Stars Cave. Over the past tens of thousands of years, the high-ups of the 6 Stars Cave sought extreme ways to break through the heavenly destiny, deceiving superiors and subordinates, leading to these consequences. In the unseen world, there exists chief fortune and incense. If the beings of the continent detest the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, the other star caves would surely notice. If the beings are exterminated, it would also attract the attention of surrounding forces. Fire can't be wrapped in paper, and most cultivators within the 7 Stars Spirit Realm are unaware of this, considering themselves disciples of the righteous path. Once again, it was the parasites within the righteous path committing atrocities, but the parasites of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm were in existence that the beings of the continent couldn't contend with. Guan feigned a sudden realization, then asked a few more questions, even mentioning the Ephemera sect. The reason the Ephemera sect managed to come through the 9 Nether Road was due to the connection between its hierarch, Butcher Immortal Jing, and an elder in the 6 Stars Cave. The interwoven interests between the two were immeasurable. It seemed like they were allowing the Ephemera sect to wreak havoc, but in reality, that elder wanted to devour the essence of the origin tree of Ephemera. Once the 3 dynasties' cultivators sacrificed to the origin tree, the elder would strike, not only reaping benefits but also gaining a good reputation. The continent where the Ephemera sect resided was also a subsidiary of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, extremely distant from here, so far that the cultivators of the Ephemera sect had to rely on the 9 Nether Road. Without Mahayana realm cultivation, they would surely die en route through the ocean. The 3 continued their conversation for an hour. Before leaving, Ji Hantian urged Guan not to spread this matter. Chapter 213 Divine Monarch arrives. Great opportunity. Hearing Yu Yingying's inquiry, Guan hesitated for a moment and asked, I am. Do you know me, Taoist friend? Yu Yingying's eyes lit up and she said, My name is Yu Ying. Senior brother Xian recommended that I come to find you. I was originally going directly to your Medicine Valley but couldn't resist coming to see Journey to the West first. Senior brother Xian Tianyi? That's right. We are from the same sect in the Star Sea congregations. You might not know about the Star Sea congregations, they are a great sect overseas. She started introducing the Star Sea congregations, and Guan listened attentively, pondering why Xian Tianyi had sent her. Guan became increasingly certain that Yu Yingying was indeed a woman, merely using some miracle technique to make her aura and appearance resemble that of a man. Such means were truly impressive. Without using divine sense to probe her, she could deceive someone at the 9th level of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm like Guan. How could it not be impressive? However, since she came from the Star Sea congregations, it made sense. The Star Sea congregations had a long history and had certainly produced heaven and earth flying immortals, possessing miracle techniques and divine skills that could deceive the senses of such beings. It wasn't unusual. Yu Yingying greatly admired Guan's investiture of the gods and journey to the west, so her words were filled with praise. For a long time, Guan asked, "Taoist friend, you didn't come just to find me, did you? Coming all the way from overseas just for 2 books?" He didn't believe it. Yu Yingying surely had other motives. Yu Yingying nodded and said, "To be honest, senior brother recommended me to sit at the Supreme Sect. But fearing I would be bored, he suggested I come to see you. I am indeed very interested in your books." To sit? Guan became even more curious. Yu Yingying said, "Senior brother fears that the 7 stars spirit realm might attack the Supreme Sect. With me around, they would at least not dare to act rashly." So impressive? This Foundation Establishment Realm's 6th layer cultivator seemed to have a significant background. What background could intimidate the 6 stars cave? Guan pondered while inquiring further, but Yu Yingying didn't want to say more. Later, Guan invited her to the 3rd Medicine Valley, but she refused politely, saying she had already rented a residence in the outer sect and would visit him if she felt bored. Guan was just being polite. Since she refused, he naturally wouldn't insist. Yu Yingying suddenly waved her sleeve, transforming into a slender woman in blue clothes, with fair skin and a beautiful face. Her eyes carried a playful and mischievous spirit. Her long hair reached her calves, the ends tied with a red scarf. Of course, Guan's divine sense could locate the minor heaven and earth realm of the 7-star spirit realm, but the restrictions there were highly advanced. Sneaking in unnoticed was beyond his capability. If he forced his way in, it would certainly alert the cultivators of the 7 stars spirit realm. Are they up to something again? Guan pondered as he dealt with Tian Yao. With the passage of summer into autumn, the weather remained hot. At noon, Guan rode the blood prison great saint to the outer gate city. There, he overheard cultivators talking about a recent event. An immortal path supreme treasure. Did you hear? There are signs of an immortal path supreme treasure in the demon land. What's an immortal path supreme treasure? I don't know either. I heard it's an immortal's magic artifact. Possessing it grants the power of an immortal. I heard about it too, but no one knows the exact location yet. Is this immortal path supreme treasure more powerful than the heaven-cutting axe? Guan listened silently, but the blood prison great saint, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, "Master, is there really such an immortal path supreme treasure?" Guan did not answer but looked ahead. Yu Yingying approached, hands behind her back, her face beaming with a smile. "It's true. Want to know more?" she asked. The blood prison great saint nodded, eagerly looking at her. However, Yu Yingying rolled her eyes at him and then looked at Guan. Guan smiled and said, "Of course, I'm also interested. Come to my residence, I have something to discuss with you," Yu Yingying said, turning to leave. Guan patted the great saint, signaling him to follow. After 30 minutes, they were sitting in a courtyard. Yu Yingying and Guan sat across from each other at a stone table. She began to introduce the immortal path supreme treasures. The world has magic artifacts, dharma treasures, and immortal treasures. Immortal treasures are magic artifacts crafted at the immortal path realm, only wielded by an immortal's mana. But an immortal path supreme treasure is crafted by the mightiest of the immortal path, each imbued with an immortal spirit. These supreme treasures not only contain immense power but also remain unaffected by the passage of time. The beings who crafted them either left the mortal world or have passed away, but the treasures endure. The Star Sea congregations possess one such supreme treasure, the Star Sea Primordial Unity Banner, which is their church treasure. The Holy Land, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, also has an Immortal Path supreme treasure, the Seven Stars Mirror, which is likewise their church treasure. Recently, it is said that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm discovered another fake immortal treasure, and the entire ocean is competing for it. I hadn't expected the news to spread so widely that even the low-level cultivators of the Supreme Sect would hear of it. Guwen, curious, asked, "What is a fake immortal treasure?" Yu Yingying explained, "It is a damaged Immortal Path supreme treasure where the immortal spirit is dormant. Though still possessing great power, it pales in comparison to a complete supreme treasure." Guwen suddenly suspected that Nine-Finger Divine Lord had come to the Supreme Sect for this fake immortal treasure. Normally not engaged in combat, Guwen wasn't particularly interested in Immortal Path supreme treasures. He placed more trust in his own mana. Yu Yingying continued to describe other Immortal Path supreme treasures, each a legendary artifact, claiming that those who obtained them could achieve the Immortal Path, boasting extravagantly. The Blood Prison Great Saint lay nearby, listening intently with a look of longing in his eyes. As Guwen listened, he spread his divine sense over the continent, noticing that from all directions, cultivators and demons were arriving from overseas, including several beings at the Immortal Path realm. He identified 3 wandering immortals and over a dozen Nirvana realm beings making their way here. Within the continent, he detected the presence of more than 20 wandering immortals, spread out in different areas, all seeking Immortal Path supreme treasures. Some were even near the minor heaven and earth realm of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, plotting how to infiltrate. Notably, Guwen saw that Hao, Liya, and Jianghu were also roaming the demon clan's territory. And Hao was fighting a great demon of the divinity transformation realm alone. After talking about Immortal Path supreme treasures, let's discuss Journey to the West, shall we? Yu Yingying suddenly said, her eyes glowing as she looked at Guwen. She usually loved reading all kinds of miscellaneous books, especially stories, which was why she got along well with Xian Tianyi. Ever since Xian Tianyi gave her investiture of the gods, she had been fascinated by Pan and, "What do you want to discuss?" Guwen asked. Yu Yingying immediately asked a series of questions, such as whether investiture of the gods and Journey to the West were connected, how many years apart they were, and on which continent the stories took place. She was even curious about how Guwen came up with these 2 remarkable books. Guwen answered her questions one by one. As for the source of his inspiration, he mentioned meeting 2 Taoists before, one named Su Zhonglin, who told him the story of investiture of the gods, and another named Wu Chenjian, who told him the story of Journey to the West. Yu Yingying did not doubt him and became even more curious about these 2 Taoists. She believed that with Guwen's cultivation level, he did not seem to possess such extensive knowledge but simply had literary talent. The Blood Prison Great Saint listened curiously. He knew Guwen wrote books but did not know the details. Only when Yu Yingying mentioned the Bull Demon King did he become interested. Guwen had given him the name of the Bull Demon King. Had his master written a book for him? Who was Sun Wukong? Could it be the monkey in Tianya Valley? Thinking of those 3 monkeys, the Blood Prison Great Saint felt angry. Those 3 always stealthily pulled his fur, and he couldn't catch them. 2 hours passed like this. Yu Yingying brought tea and snacks, indicating she had no intention of letting Guwen leave. In the few years since arriving at the Supreme Sect, she hadn't sought out Guwen because she was busy reading. She had read through all the books in the book collection hall, a determination that impressed even Guwen. At that moment, a high-pitched dragon's roar echoed from the sky. Yu Yingying's face changed, and she murmured, "Dragon-slaying spear Qi Jiuxiao." He fell like swift thunder, landing in the courtyard of Yu Yingying's residence, startling the Blood Prison Great Saint to his feet, as did Gu, and Qi Jiuxiao ignored him and Guan, his eyes fixed on Yu Yingying, and he laughed. "Little girl, what are you doing here?" "Little girl? How did your master teach you to speak?" "Haha, so this is the supreme sect that Xian Tianyi comes from? Really weak. I heard he wants to deal with the 7-star spirit realm. Your master is running around making connections, but the higher-ups are unmoved." Qi Jiuxiao laughed softly. Seeing Yu Yingying frown, he continued, "How about I go and probe the depths of the 7-star spirit realm for you?" Yu Yingying looked at him and snorted, "With your cultivation level, don't die at the 7-star spirit realm." "Ha! Then watch me seize the supreme treasure of the immortal path." With that, Qi Jiuxiao leaped into the air, the golden dragon in the sky transforming into a streak of golden light, flying across the sky and disappearing without a trace. From beginning to end, Qi Jiuxiao didn't even glance at Guan. Yu Yingying snorted coldly, "That guy is truly arrogant. Sooner or later he will suffer a big loss." Guan sat down again and curiously asked, "What is your relationship?" "Just fellow disciples, we're not on the same path." Yu Yingying shook her head, obviously not wanting to say much about herself. A Foundation Establishment Realm 8th floor saying she's not on the same path as a Nirvana Realm 9 layers? Though correct, it felt a bit awkward. Guan felt more and more that Yu Yingying was not simple. No wonder Xian Tianyi invited her to the Supreme Sect. He looked at the cause and effect around Yu Yingying, probing her past 20 years. However, he only saw various scenes of Yu Yingying throwing tantrums and being domineering, with Xian Tianyi pleasing her. Letting him stir things up is good. Your Supreme Sect is dissatisfied with the 7-star spirit realm anyway. Yu Yingying continued. Guan remained silent, not responding. Yu Yingying could see that he didn't want to cause trouble. Xian Tianyi had mentioned this before. "Let's continue talking about Journey to the West." Yu Yingying laughed. At this moment, the entire Supreme Sect was in an uproar, all disciples discussing Qi Jiuxiao. In a mansion in the main city of the sect, Qiao Dai stood on the eaves, frowning. Dragon-slaying spear, why is he here? Could it be that the 7-star spirit realm really has the supreme treasure of the immortal path? But why bring the supreme treasure to this continent? Qiao Dai was filled with confusion. He felt it was not a coincidence. The 7-star spirit realm must have a plan. Qi Jiuxiao's appearance marked the beginning of the competition for the supreme treasure of the immortal path. In the days that followed, powerful presences occasionally swept past the Supreme Sect, and divine senses occasionally scanned the Supreme Sect. This made the atmosphere within the Supreme Sect tense, fearing they would suffer in the crossfire. 5 days later, LV Baitin came to find Guan. The two hid in a room to talk. After setting up a restriction, LV Baitin couldn't help but sigh. Lately, many great cultivators from overseas are arriving. The peace of this continent is about to be broken. He felt very aggrieved. Those overseas great cultivators freely probed the Supreme Sect without greeting, completely ignoring them. The most crucial part was that the Supreme Sect had to endure it. Not only the Supreme Sect, but the 3 dynasties and all sects felt this way. After surviving the demon calamity, all sects were eager to grow stronger. But in just a few years, so many beings at the Immortal Path realm appeared, making them feel like weeds. Before the demon calamity, I lived for hundreds of years without seeing a Mahayana realm cultivator, let alone those at the Immortal Path realm. Now, how come there are more and more? LV Baitin said troubledly. Guan comforted him. It's okay, for now, no one is endangering the Supreme Sect. Their target should be that so-called supreme treasure of the Immortal Path. LV Baitin nodded. I just wanted to vent to you. Now the Hall of Elders is on high alert, fearing another calamity may break out. Boom, a deafening roar came from afar, startling LV Baitin, cutting off his words. Gu Ennis' divine sense swept out, seeing Qi Jiuxiao fighting a Nirvana realm great cultivator far beyond Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. That person should be from the 7-star spirit realm. His aura did not come from overseas but seemed to have suddenly appeared. Qi Jiuxiao was indeed strong, completely suppressing the opponent. Gu sensed a loose immortal aura approaching the battlefield. also emerging from the minor heaven and earth of the 7 stars spirit realm. I need to go back. LV Bayin stood up and then disappeared from the room. Guwen also stood up, walked downstairs, and saw disciples gathering. The previous noise had scared them, and they couldn't help but be afraid. Lu Lingjun also walked out from inside. She and the blood prison great saint looked in the same direction. After a while, Lu Lingjun withdrew her gaze and looked at the blood prison great saint. Why did it seem like the blood prison great saint was also looking in her direction? The blood prison great saint felt her gaze and couldn't help but glare at her. Stupid bull. Lu Lingjun shook her head and smiled, then walked towards Guwen. The blood prison great saint couldn't help but curse. You're the stupid one. Lu Lingjun glanced at him, a terrifying murderous intent locking onto him, making his bull body stiffen. Guwen also gave the blood prison great saint a look, forcing him to lower his head. The blood prison great saint felt extremely aggrieved. A dignified Mahayana realm cultivator, humiliated by a mystic heart realm cultivator, unable to retort. He now really hated Lu Lingjun. Thousands of years later, I definitely won't join your ascension sect, and I'll even steal your people. Lu Lingjun smiled with satisfaction, then came to Guwen. Why do you argue with him? Guwen pretended to complain. Upset? I apologize to you. How would I know he has such a bad temper? Usually, she was in seclusion, unaware of what the blood prison great saint had gone through. Never mind, treat him better in the future. After all, he's my mount. Guwen shook his head, making the blood prison great saint feel very touched. Lu Lingjun laughed. This bull is too weak. If you want a mount, I can get you a stronger one. The blood prison great saint's anger flared up again. Guwen feared he would die of anger, so he pulled Lu Lingjun to an isolated place. Lu Lingjun sought him out of curiosity about recent events. Guwen didn't hide anything and told her about the rumors of the supreme treasure of the Immortal Path. Lu Lingjun became interested and flew north directly. Really reckless. Are all ascenders like this? Guwen felt helpless. His divine sense locked onto Qi Jiuxiao. This guy was already facing a loose immortal. The loose immortal seemed to be the master of the Nirvana realm cultivator, continually warning Qi Jiuxiao. But Qi Jiuxiao was extremely arrogant, soon starting a fight after a few words. One had to admit that the dragon-slaying spear in Qi Jiuxiao's hand was indeed powerful, capable of both offense and defense, preventing the loose immortal from defeating him in a short time. Of course, Guwen could see that the loose immortal was very cautious of Qi Jiuxiao, not dealing a deadly blow. Before long, Qi Jiuxiao was still defeated and had to retreat. The immortal treasure could only protect him from death but couldn't help him kill a loose immortal realm great cultivator. After the battle ended, Guwen retracted his divine sense and turned back to the house. In the middle of the night, and Hao walked through the woods, holding a map. He had obtained it by chance, and it was said to record the cave of an ancient great cultivator. As he walked, he suddenly sensed something, quickly putting away the map, warily looking around, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Footsteps came from the darkness. He looked closely and saw a man approaching. It was Qi Jiuxiao. And Hao did not recognize Qi Jiuxiao but could sense that the other was very strong. Qi Jiuxiao's face was very bad. He looked at Hao and asked, "Hey, what's your name? Which sect or school are you from?" Hao frowned. "My name is Hao from the Supreme Sect." Qi Jiuxiao said, "The Supreme Sect? There's a connection. One of my junior sisters is in the Supreme Sect." In light of this connection, give me the 8th rank heavenly material and earthly treasure from your storage bag for my healing, and I won't treat you unfairly. Hearing this, Hao's face changed drastically. How did the other K? The restrictions contained in this treasure were not only advanced but also very complex. Guwen even sensed the aura of karmic rules. A city that occupied a 1,000-mile radius was colossal, with walls 100 zhang tall, the city filled with buildings, palaces, and towering spires. Despite its ancient and dilapidated appearance, the city had crossed the long river of time. With the arrival of this city, the great cultivators scattered across the continent all rushed towards it, including Qi Jiuxiao and Hao. Even Li Ya and Zhang Buku joined the excitement. "I'm going out to take a look." Yi Lan said this and then leaped into the air, stepping on her flying sword as she left the residence. Guwen picked up his teacup and continued drinking tea, watching the excitement. He saw numerous cultivators from the Seven Stars spirit realm enter the city, and once they did, their figures disappeared and their auras weakened. Guwen, at the 9th level of the Heaven and Earth flying immortal realm, could barely catch their auras. Even so, it was difficult for cultivators of lower realms. No matter how many cultivators flew into the city, it remained silent. No one was seen, and no signs of life could be detected. The divine exotic city is open. All beings under the heavens can enter the city and find their immortal fate. A booming and ancient voice resounded throughout the heavens and earth, reaching every corner of the continent. "Wandering immortal." Guwen raised an eyebrow. The 6 Stars cave only had one wandering immortal. Now, with the appearance of a second, had the death of the divine soul true lord been discovered? After a while, Yi Lan flew back. The disturbance seems to be coming from afar. This divine exotic city sounds extraordinary. "I really want to see it," Yi Lan said wistfully as she sat opposite Guwen. Guwen shook his head and said, "Such immortal fate is not something cultivators like us can reach." "I know. Don't worry. I won't go looking for death. With my cultivation level, I might die before even seeing the divine exotic city," Yi Lan said with a smile, shaking her head. Guwen didn't comfort her. It was indeed the truth. About an hour later, Guwen left under Yi Lan's urging. In the days that followed, various legends about the divine exotic city circulated within the supreme sect. Shenzhen especially visited Guwen, bringing many tales of the divine exotic city. "I heard from a senior that the divine exotic city is an ancient immortal city, hidden and elusive. Each appearance can change the world. Our predecessors in the Daotian sect once excavated an ancient site and found an inscription mentioning the divine exotic city. It is a very ancient legend," Shenzhen said excitedly. Guwen smiled and asked, "What, do you want to join the excitement?" He observed the divine exotic city every day, witnessing over 10,000 beings enter the city, but none had come out. Shenzhen nodded and said, "Yes, I'm planning to take a look. I won't enter the city, just watch the excitement from outside and draw the divine exotic city. Are you coming?" There will be the vice sect leader and the supreme elders leading the way. Guwen shook his head and said, "I'm not going. If there's an incident, dying there would be too worthless." "Nonsense. Are you cursing me?" Shenzhen glared at him. No matter how much she persuaded, Guwen wouldn't go, so she had no choice but to give up. After Shenzhen left, Guwen went downstairs to start picking medicinal herbs. At the same time, his divine sense saw Li Ya and Zhang Buku entering the divine exotic city. Another person was on the way to the divine exotic city. It was Ji Xiaoyu. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.